moments later.
Dark alley, or you're out in the woods and it's kind of pitch black, whatever reason, and you feel like you're being watched, don't you? Like, I don't know about you guys, not always, maybe not as pronounced all
Here's
the
the thing
time,
with addiction is
that's
never say never, because when you're an addict,
not all the time, sometimes
you'll do shit.
Every now
You know, like I never say, oh, I'll only do that, I'll never do crack. I believe this isn't available, which crack might be, you know what I mean? You gotta do something, so, you know, it's just that's why people say my drug of choice. It's hard to say you're addicted to one thing when you're just addicted to chemicals in your body. Like any other substance is gonna work for
the first time I agree with you.
No, I love therapy.
Thanks for having us.
Well, we like
I feel like that's science. Like that's like full on science, whereas paranormal is definitely not 100%.
Specific porn was brought up, and we can laugh about it, but it's actually a
website or just a Facebook page. How do we find you?
Race in general.
How do you find us? At PITB.com.
Yeah, like you said,
and if you're in Sudbury, we also
the informal definition is enthusiastically devoted to a particular thing.
Like we've been doing it every Friday for 2 years now. Yeah, fun. We do a little bit of comedy, singing, acting.
I like that. You guys have a.
So I was without my medication for almost 2 years.
What is the word? There's something theatrical way about you, and that's kind of a lot of how I.
So you pull all that in,
told,
the miscarriages, the abusive relationships, the horrible. I mean, I would.
You know, it should be required. One of them required credits. And plain and simple.
The shit we do to our kids.
Balancing a checkbook, learning how to do the dishes, learning how to fucking unplug a toilet. You know, the hot and cold knobs. There's certain things that trade schools that we don't learn anymore because we push college. You know what? I don't need to know X minus Y times 7 to the 8th power.
That's how it's growing up in Illinois every year.
Justin's gonna just sit here bagging on me the whole time. Every comment that he's made has been about my fucking glasses.
Like, he knows that I don't watch the comments as much on this.
I would be like, since you got home from school, you whatever minute you're gonna do something, you want to chuck the shit on, boom! And then you're out so late, it was dark on your
attitude approach to healthcare rather than
sometimes people are that cakes or like.
Yeah, I like them. I enjoy a look of medicine. I'm really into mental health.
You take the leave bag, the big yard leave bag. Yeah, I only have one of them. And just go, yeah.
You know what they have now? You know what they have now, guys? Okay, two things. They have trick-or-treating.
Something's out there, and this seems like it's a place to go. So, I went off, like, they tell you, after going through recovery, I'm an unactive alcoholic.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to People in the Boxes, number 51. Number 51, guys. One more, and we've called it a year. I mean, it's been a little more. It's been a little more than that. But you guys, welcome in. Welcome. Get everybody tagged in. Share it out, please, for us. Thank you. And also, let's see. It's 7/6/2023, guys. It's Thursday night. It's a little bit of a weird week because we had Independence Day this week, of course. But I'm reminded a lot this week of why I'm doing all this stuff. You guys might think of me as self-sustainability type guy, but People in the Boxes is all about sustainability by sustaining our relationships among each other within the community, by showing perspective, giving each other a way to talk to each other without being so afraid anymore. So here we are, People in the Boxes tonight. It's a little bit of a connection to the holiday, just like last week, Freedom of Speech episode. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. I've actually seen a bunch of it, more than a couple times, because I play it on the rerun. So I've watched it a few times, and I'm like, this was a very good episode. So worth a watch, you guys. Thank you. Please share it out, tag your friends, and if you want to come on screen, just let us know. We will get you that link. Before we get our awesome guest up on the screen, our co-hosts and everyone, we are going to show the video, guys, for tonight's episode. It's all about fight, flight, or freeze. Have you ever had a time where either any of those have been useful or maybe have been a problem for you? So let's check it out, guys. Okay. What did you guys think? Did it depict what we were looking for? That's what we're looking for.
You always do a great job.
Stop, Steven. You got to tell me something. You got to tell me something bad about us for a change. You got to say, hey, you could use a little work. I'm just kidding.
You did great, man. And by the way, congratulations. It's been almost a year. This is awesome. Proud to be a part of it. And this is a great thing you started, Waylon. I started watching you pretty much from the beginning. I jumped in a few weeks after you started. And I'm just really impressed with not only the topics that we come up with every week, but, the people that come through here, and give their opinions, come up on screen, because that's what, in my opinion, People in the Boxes is all about. People coming on the screen, telling their stories, and that's what makes it a big deal, I think.
Yeah, because I could ramble all day long, and whether people watch me or not, that's a different story. But I want to hear what other people have to say. Jason, what's up? How do you think? What do you think? How are you feeling?
100%. I think the video is good. It was perfect, Waylon.
So, I like your hat, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Melanie, what's up? How are you feeling?
It's been a rough couple of days, but I'm doing okay.
Well, definitely, we don't want you to hold back here, so definitely we think about you, want to know how you're doing. Drop me a link. I'm not sure who this is.
Yep.
But if you let me know who you are, I will.
I believe it's Kitty Cat, because she said "Heyo" way back at the beginning.
Interesting.
So I think it's kitty cat.
On the other I switched pages, but yes, she was over there, so it could very well be her.
Well, guys, I appreciate everyone coming in. If you want to consolidate into one chat, I welcome everyone over to Wayland the Indoor Farmer if you'd like.
It is kitty cat.
Definitely get the link for sure. Frank Slime wants the link as well. Rhino, my friend, our new co-host. How are you, bro?
I am awesome and getting better as usual, buddy. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been a hot day. I got some mowing done. That's always good. I actually missed a haircut appointment because of that, but that's my fault. I'll get it tomorrow. So,
somebody bring an echo, or is it me?
Yeah, there's something really squeaky.
I went and donated plasma today. I do twice a week. Let me hit my F thing, see if that helps. Does that help anything? Is it gone?
No, there's a little mouse squeaking.
Let me.
It's echoing.
I hear it now.
I'm going to mute for a second because it does it to me. So let's see if it's me.
It is you.
That's
him. Hey, and I want to point out, guys,
but there's that noise though.
There's still
interference or something.
Jimmy says he'll take the link to you.
Let me mute.
Let me mute.
Hello. Testing. Okay, Dan, you're back. Okay, Dan's okay. Melanie, unmute Melanie, please.
Am I doing it?
Hello. Testing. It is Melanie.
It sounds like it's picking up like a background noise near you.
Yeah. It's
I'll be back.
It's okay. It happens on her phone sometimes. I've seen it.
Well, don't be like on her phone. It happens on other people's phones.
It's the fishbowl thing. Come on, we've seen it.
It's
we love you. We don't love your phone. That's all. No, trust me. I need a new phone too, guys. Look, here's.
Is Rosta still echoing?
Have an echo now.
Do I?
Somebody do it.
Hold on. How about now?
Testing.
Did it go away?
Echo now.
What keeps it like echo?
Whoa.
Well, hello.
I heard it, and I heard it go away, and then I heard it come back, and then I heard it go away.
That sounds good. and let me just point out real quick, guys. I was watching a podcast the other day. There was, I think, 15,000 people watching them, and they had the exact same problem. So,
is it back?
Don't need to worry about it.
I can try headphones.
Melanie gets to be Alice.
I still hear it a bit, but I don't think
I still hear it a bit. It's just like a little background noise.
Maybe just turn your volume down a little bit. That might do it. I don't know, but it's okay. It's manageable. You can mess around with it if you like. It's all good. Jimmy Mead, what's up, bro?
What's up, Jimmy?
Wait, we got you muted there.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Zach.
Hey,
my Lord.
You got yourself muted right now.
Are we any better?
That sounds good.
Better.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you now, Jimmy. How you doing, bro?
Doing all right.
Getting along.
How you doing?
Hey, Recycle.
Not bad. I haven't had surgery recently, so I hope you're doing better than before, right?
Almost half of us on street now.
Yeah, a lot of you have. Well, getting there, good. Well, we're going Saturday, so we'll get you some pillow. We'll stop a few times. Rosta and I, we'll stop and we'll have a little. We'll find one of these like rest areas and sneak off into the trees.
Oh, you didn't get my message, did you?
And do what?
Are you not going?
No, I'm gonna have to try to find a ride with somebody from down here because my car won't make it to you.
Oh, bro. Yeah, that sucks.
I'll be
How
right
far
back.
are you from me? Well, we'll talk about that later. Dan the Mushroom Man is here with us tonight, guys. The Rumination Project. Dan the Rumination Man, I guess, is what we'll have to change it to now. What's
I
up,
like
Dan?
that.
How are you?
Good. Just came out of that my ruminating gardener with hobbies.
I saw that. I saw a hobby was on there. I didn't get a chance to listen too much. We were doing dinner here.
Girlfriend being live, we had a lot of people in there. I was surprised.
That's good. Yeah, because girlfriend they don't usually do it on Thursdays.
Yeah, they changed it from Friday to Thursday.
Just for this week, it was.
We got Frank Tank in here. What's up, Frank?
He was the next. He's my next one. Frank, what's up, bro?
Chilling, hanging in there, enjoying being off work.
Cool. Well, speaking of Frank and Steve-O, you guys are both admins over there on Misfit Islands. I'm trying to get one of yous the video. So, Steve-O, I might just bring you a thumb drive for that, actually. Anyway, we'll work that out later. But tonight's episode, I think it has a lot of different meanings. We have the Melanie and I talked about earlier. There's a lot of domestic trauma. There's also the more broad look at it, where we think of like our whole country. That's why I threw that little clip in there. I don't know if you guys noticed. It was like the Civil War reenactment or something like that. It was like, what do you do? And a lot of us think of our country's wars as this thing where our country was in the war. Well, most of the time, half the country was like, nah, I'm not doing anything for that. Like a lot of people weren't even involved. And so you have people that make those decisions on the grand scale too. It's like, do I, or like right now, if you think of something more recent, think about the laws in your states. Maybe you decide, I'm out of here. I'm leaving whatever it is, California, I'm leaving Illinois or something. Or you decide I'm staying and I'm going to fight. I'm going to try to make it better. I'm going to try and to make some changes. Or you're frozen because you have no idea what to do. You don't have enough money or whatever to make changes. So there's a lot of different aspects to this, not just what we think of as the primal urges of like when you're being chased by a cheetah or something like that. Like there's that. It's obviously what like Dan actually, and just to preface this, Dan did a podcast a couple weeks ago on his Mental Health Monday. I brought it up a couple times. He's got more in depth into the subject, but more talking about the science behind it and the brain activity behind it. It is a natural reaction. And a lot of us may not like one of those three things, but they all have reasons for happening. It's just that they don't always happen when we need them to happen for a good reason. Like we have these artificial triggers now. Melanie?
I was thinking too about what we had talked about earlier, and then I was like, but it's funny because I don't always run towards danger. You know what I mean? And then I started thinking about why not? And if I'm in danger, I'm gonna run the fuck away. You know what I mean? 9 times out of 10, like if it's a bobcat, I'm out. I know I can't do anything. I'm gonna try to get away. But if someone else is in danger, I will literally run into a fire. It's weird. If it's somebody else, it's right. Like the adrenaline about, oh my God, help them. Of course we want to help ourselves. But for me, there's just something more about if someone else is in danger too.
Children, right? Well, let's pause for a second real quick, guys. Just a little announcement here. This is going to be a touchy subject for people, and there is going to be trigger warnings. We might end up talking about suicide. We might end up talking about death. We might end up talking about this, that, or the other. Domestic violence, abuse. With this topic, it could go very, very large. So if there is something that does trigger somebody and you are up on screen, please feel free just to back away for a minute and come back. We're not going to there's no pointing fingers. There's no, just get over it, anything like that. We totally respect and understand trigger warnings, but it is going to be deep conversations tonight. And we don't want to, have here tomorrow that, oh my God, your guys' show I just couldn't watch because it was just blah, blah, this, that, and the other. Not blah, blah, blah. Words matter.
On our end, I know I have a story or two that definitely needs trigger warning. So before anybody on screen, before we share anything like that, I think it'd be respectful to say, hey, tune out for 2 minutes and come back if you need to, because your own mental health is what's important.
Is a big one.
I don't want to trigger anybody.
Right. Well, now that we got that out of the way, you have a good point, though, Melanie, about how we have a natural instinct to run when we're in danger. But then I also believe that some of us especially have an instinct to run towards danger to help others. And we should talk about that for a minute. What about the rest of you guys? What do you think, Rhino? Frank?
Say that again, the question. Sorry, you broke up.
How we have a natural instinct sometimes to run away from danger when we're in danger, but then we also have an instinct to run towards danger a lot of the time.
I have a tendency to run right at the danger with blinders. Like, it just doesn't matter to me. Like, okay, if something bad's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. But right now, I'm gonna do whatever I can to stop this bad thing from going on. So
it doesn't matter if it's you in trouble or if it's a child in trouble. Either way, you just jump in.
I'm getting it. I'm eating every bit of it until it gets me. Is what I'm doing. I'm eating it.
Jimmy too. It sounds like
That's how I am.
As human
mess
beings,
with
we're
my
caretakers. And we want to be out there to help somebody, and I think it's natural to go in, to run in that burning fire to help somebody, especially if it's a loved one. Also, we have that natural reaction if we're in danger. It brings the other two to freeze or flee. So it kind of depends on what situation we're in and what our surroundings are, I believe.
Yeah. What were you saying, Jim?
I said I'm the same way. I will run right into danger, especially if you're messing with one of my friends or loved ones.
So there's a fine line, I think, where when we say danger, we all think of danger, but we think of it differently. And if, like Melanie brought up, a wild animal, that like if there's a wild animal like coming at a kid, you might try, but like there are different things. Like if a kid is about to get hit by, say, like this is so guys, again, like Jason said, we're thinking of hypotheticals here. I just mean there are situations where you might say there's no reason to jump in on that danger. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to go into like gruesome hypotheticals, but my point is like we all say that, and I think there are moments where we just don't know what we'll do. And I've thought about things like being like held up at gunpoint, stuff like situations where as a man,
I have a story on that one.
Okay, well that's
Hey guys,
I want to hear it, but go ahead, Melanie.
I'm sorry. I need you to kick me because my screen is frozen and I need to turn my camera back on.
That's okay. There you go. You're in the backstage now, Melanie. I want to hear those stories, because my point is I think about those situations, and I've thought about situations where it's like, what would I do? What would I do? And you don't know what you do. I have military training. I have training, but that doesn't mean that I know what I would do. And there's a lot of times where we hope. All you can do is you can train yourself. You can train yourself to sort of be prepared for situations. You can be, but not all of us know which way we'll go. I mean, I freeze a lot due to anxiety. And Dan, I think we talked about that a little bit. I don't know if it connects directly to the FFF, but with anxiety, you sort of freeze because you have too many directions that you could go in. And hi, Kat, thanks for coming up. But Dan, maybe you can enlighten us a little bit on the science side of it from the episode you had. So what is it that today is usefulness of the fight, flight, freeze mechanism? Is it still useful today, you think? Because we all knew it was for like predator prey type situation. Like, do you guys think that freezing can be the worst thing?
It wouldn't unmute. Sorry about that.
I don't think it's as useful as it used to be when we were hunting, because that's what it was used for. And now we're in a society where our food is at a grocery store, and we don't have to have those skills anymore to when we were hunters and gatherers. I think it has its benefits, but it seems to interfere with life a lot more. Because this world is so overwhelming that a lot of us are constantly in the fight or flight mode. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have 3 kids and you're constantly taking them to practice, school, and then you work, and you just never get like a break. So it kind of is different than it was, a couple hundred years ago than it is now, and our bodies still haven't really evolved to the society that we have built.
I never thought of it that way. As times change, our fears and worries and stuff, or dangers, so to speak, has changed, and there's more of them these days.
Exactly. Well, and with times changing, I see it more nowadays than I ever have. People looking the other way. They don't want to be involved.
I saw that at the 4th of July.
They literally don't want to be involved, and they step away and look the other way And to me, that's a flee.
Mm-hmm.
That's fleeing because it's my name's Bennett and I'm not in it. But there's certain circumstances that we can't look the other way. But unfortunately, society, it's none of my business. I'm not involved. It's not affecting me.
Well, the way it was like explained to me as well, with like that fight or flight and the normal amount of like, fight or flight mode and stuff, like, and this is from like a professional and shit. I deal with a lot of like anxiety and panic attacks and like PTSD, and the way it's explained is like, the normal amount of fight or flight to have is, if you're like going through the woods, for an example, and you hear a bear or something behind you or close by, like that type of fight or flight mode of like, if you're going to take off, if you're going to try to defend yourself. But someone like myself that has such like that chemical imbalance that really fucks with my fight or flight, or that like, freeze type thing, I could feel like that level of anxiety just from opening my eyes in the morning. So there is such different levels of, what a normal amount of like survival, fight or flight would be, and then what's just over the top because of chemical imbalances in your head that don't operate the way they should on those things.
Well, I feel like that goes into agoraphobia, where that's more the freeze.
Yeah.
Because I personally experience that. By the way, I am stuck on here. My phone won't turn off, on, nothing. My phone's complete. No, it won't even shut off.
It'll die.
I don't.
On the one.
Well, yeah, but it's my only phone. Like that's my real phone. I need it to work. Anyway,
the phone got scared, so it froze.
I see what you did there.
That was man.
Go ahead.
In some of the trainings that I did as a mental health counselor, you have three parts of the brain. You have the amygdala oblongata, the hippocampus, and the frontal cortex. And all three of those, I think those are the three, that they regulate your stress and your stress levels. And there's a neurotransmitter, I think it's cortisone or something like that, or cortisol, but it's supposed to regulate a certain way to keep your stress levels at bay. And if you have mental health conditions, that system gets messed up. So your fight, flight, freeze.
I have a cortisol imbalance.
Cortisol.
Is that I can't look it up because my other phone's frozen. I think is that Addison's?
I got you.
There is a disease. There's a name for it. Let's see.
Yeah, I had
what's it called when your cortisol's too high?
With someone with a weapon, I'd gone to a house party, and I was younger, and everybody's drinking, and it was some girl that I went with there with all her and her friends and this and that, and her and her boyfriend stole her mom's boyfriend's safe from the basement that had a lot of money and cannabis in it, evidently. And she played stupid like she didn't know what happened and actually give him everybody's name that was at that party. And he had Google searched every address, had them all in a notebook. And I was the first house on the list. And he showed up and put a gun to my head as I was at the trunk of my car and told me, open the trunk of your car and give me everything you have or I'm blowing your brains out. And I was smoking a joint at the time. And I hit the joint about as hard as I could, looked at him, and said, the fuck you are. And I proceeded to put the gun straight into the air as military training would teach you if he's within arm's reach. If he didn't pull the trigger, he can't shoot you. You should be able to disarm or move it out of the direction of a straight line of fire. So I took it straight to the air and then grabbed him by his belt buckle and put him over into a curb until he was subdued to the point that my father came out and we wrestled him and got the gun away, and then the police came.
So that's awesome, Frank. Now I want to point out to everyone who's watching or listening and watching, Frank does not condone or Frank is not a professional. Do not just think that you can do that because you heard someone talk about it. So, but yeah, no, I hear that.
Yeah, none of the things we're going to talk about, we recommend you do. Call for help.
These are shared experiences.
It's really in that moment when something like that happens, that's when your true fight or flight comes.
You don't know, yeah.
It either goes or it doesn't, and that's where in my fight or flight, I'm a fight all the way.
It can also.
Yeah, that's a pretty extreme situation for sure. Now, has anybody ever been into like a physical altercation where I've always been the guy said, you know, I'm not going to hit someone first, but if somebody goes to hit me, then it's on. Right? So
I've always been the way of not letting anyone hit me first, because I'm like, I'm not getting dazed and fucking confused first. Like, no way. Like, if we're getting into this, like,
well,
you're getting
that's a sucker punch, and that's
out.
yeah. I mean, that's different. I get that, but my point is, like, I'm not going to go putting my hands on somebody.
No, that's like when someone's coming at you, it's that fight or flight.
unless
I'm
they're
not
in
going
my
to
house.
freeze up. I'm going to defend myself. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. This is good. I should share my most recent experience, which was in my own house. I had an ex-friend, Jimmy knows him. He left a bunch of stuff in my house. He started doing all these things that basically I one day told him to his face a couple feet away. So we're not friends anymore. You don't treat me like a friend. We're done. Whatever. It's over. It's over. And
You
then
broke up.
we broke up. Well, the dude just left all of his stuff in my house like it wasn't gonna matter. And I ended up he ended up coming back for some of it, and I was explaining how he owed me. He was trying to tell me I owed him money, and I said, "Well, you owe me for storage fees and things like that." And so this is when the panic ensued. He decided to run back into my house, down into the basement, as if I couldn't so I couldn't get him out. And so I had to put my hands on the guy. I pushed him once, and I was like, "Let's, and so then I was like, "Let's go, come on." And of course, he He said I was going to call the cops. He's like, "No, I'm ready for." But at this point, I was ready to go. I'm not saying I'm not condoning that, you guys. But my point is, like, when someone's in my house, like, that's a different scenario. Like, you can't just run inside my house and stand there and say, you can't move me. Like, what is that? Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna mess you up.
We got a lot of Facebook users tonight. Make sure you guys got to give StreamYard access to your Facebook account so we can see who you are. There's been probably 5 or 6 different people in the comments that we don't know who you are, guys, because of
Cat the one. Maybe
and if you want
I keep putting them up every time we see it, so they can see their comment and see that it says Facebook user.
If you don't want to do that, please put your name in every single comment.
I've granted StreamYard permission so many times.
They reset every now and then.
Yeah.
But
I've already seen your comment. I'll talk to you.
I was talking about that on my podcast, Waylon, about I got into a fight last summer with my roommate, and the police got called, and they almost arrested us both for domestic. But I felt horrible. But it was like an accumulation of months of being in like fight, or I guess it was more like freeze mode, and then it accumulated and exploded between both of us into like a fight because the tension between us was growing, and then it just exploded.
So did you guys break up too?
What's that?
Did you break up too?
Yeah, well, luckily we just got fighting tickets, but the police almost and just had to pay a city citation. But yeah, he eventually moved out a month later, and both moved on with their lives.
Belief cycle was very important.
I felt very bad for it. I don't like that being like that as an adult, but if eventually the stuff in your brain just accumulates where you don't go into fight mode.
I had a fight with a roommate too, man. Roommate situations are almost they almost never work out well.
Very difficult, yeah.
Almost never. And
that tension can build up.
Well, and this was years ago. This was more than 10 years ago now. But my fight ended up alcohol was involved. I've talked about this before, but he was. My roommate was falling to the floor after I had already, taken care of him. And I grabbed him so that he wouldn't just hit his head on the wall. Well, his arms were going like this, and he hit me in the nose, and I didn't think anything of it. I had a little bit of a shiner, ended up getting a girlfriend out of that, girls like that, right? But my point is that ended up deviating my septum, guys. 3 years went by. The VA did not see anything. They took x-rays. Oh, well, we don't see nothing. And then 3 years later, I go and get a job at a hospital. They do a little, physical to check you out when you get the higher. And he's like, "Oh, you got a little deviated septum," and I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks. Finally, that's what's going on because it was hell for that long." And I'm one of these people that just leave it alone instead of like bugging the doctors, thinking they don't care. So anyway, I ended up getting surgery. So it was like 4 years. Now I'm allergic to dogs and cats. So to think twice when you go to like get into that old fist fight that you might want to do, like. Like part of me, there's a primal part of me that wants to like defend someone's honor, that wants to get into the righteous fight, the fight that's like, you're clearly the good guy, right? You're clearly doing it for the right reasons, but that's not typically what fights end up as, right? And so that fight, flight, or so that flight can sometimes be because you're turning the other cheek.
Yeah, right? No matter whether I won or lost, I still came out with busted hands, busted wrists. Right.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. Yep.
Yeah. So like, I think for me, I've always been like, I definitely will stand up if there's something injustice happening. I try to use my mouth. I try to use my voice for that. Right.
But yeah, you do.
I try. Well, through the keyword. But I want to ask you guys about a movie not too long ago. I think it was Wanted. Wasn't it Wanted? Where the kid is like he works in an office and like he's got some anxiety medicine and stuff, and come to find out that the condition that he has wasn't a problem. It was almost a hyper awareness of things that obviously was a little far-fetched, right? But I think it actually means a lot to us in this day and age. You have a lot of men who have a lot of natural urges still. Hunting wise, the whole fight, flight, freeze thing is a very like primal thing, right? It's an instinct. But we're sitting here in cubicles and like on the phone all day, like we're doing like we're not out in nature, but like yet we still have these instincts, and we end up developing anxiety disorders because of it. Because anxiety is what happens when you get that rush of adrenaline. When you have one of these situations, like you get this, you guys ever get this? I have a lot of anxiety. I get this rush of adrenaline where I don't even have anything I can say. I just make noises all of a sudden, like it's just adrenaline happening, and there's nothing.
Well, that's where the road rage comes from. Yeah, you're a rush of adrenaline from a situation out there on the road. That's where road rage comes from.
Sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Because then people stop, and then they actually get into it physically.
Right. Yeah.
And while we mentioned, all the some of the aspects of mental health and stuff like that, there's fight, flight, freeze, and there's also fawn, which fawn is, fawn means you're trying to people please and trying to make the person happy to avoid conflict. Basically.
Yeah. Or just being passive, I guess.
That's what a lot of domestic violence survivors do. They just avoid it.
You learn to adapt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like being institutionalized is a mechanism of fight, flight, or freeze? You sort of freeze in that you accept your situation. Now
it's different for everybody.
Right.
Sure. I think it depends on the long amount of time you are institutionalized too.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Because a lot of times they say, well, because the term institutionalized means when you come out of it, you're not the same. Like you look at people in boxes. Oh, thanks, Mike.
My first husband wanted to go, but he couldn't wait to go back. He's like 3 hots and a cot. I don't have to pay these fucking bills. Like he just could not wait, and he went back for 12 years.
I think while you're in there's got to be a limitation of your fight or freeze.
Yeah.
Because you're in on walls,
Got him. So I want to point out the freeze aspect. That's actually was a good thing. Back to the movies again. That's what I grew up on. Maybe it's a bad thing, but you guys remember the first Predator movie, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger. He rolls around in the mud, right? He's covered head to toe in dirt and mud and stuff to blend in. Well, he's being hunted by a predator, right? And I mean that in like the regular sense of the word.
Waylon, you're gonna have to watch that again. He did it to cover up his body heat.
Yes, but my point is, he at that point would hide so still and so quiet whenever that's the freeze aspect. Like he couldn't fight or run So he chose to be able to hide and sit so still that, and yes, it was a whole body heat thing, but like that's how he couldn't.
Take it easy, Mike.
See,
Thanks for stopping in.
Thanks, Mike. Mike, bro, we'll get you that video, man. I promise. I'll make it better too. We'll work on it. I put that together in a few minutes last night. Mike said, "Can somebody make?" I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna make it for him." He's been asking. I just don't think my videos are up to snuff just yet, but they can always be improved.
Hey,
better than no video.
Yeah, a video's a video. We appreciate it.
Frank, what you
Yeah.
think? Is it okay?
We appreciate it. Wicked, bro.
Get
Badass.
that island vibe on it, you guys. Actually, I'll play it real quick just because I made it, and I know it's endorsed by Grow Fam as
You
well.
said just because I made it.
Yeah, why not? We're medicated. Give us a little break for a second.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Misfit Island, guys. Steve-O is a admin. Frank, Mike.
I am now in the group.
Jay Alty and Chuck Rock.
Yep, I'll say Jay and Chuck.
Oh yeah, let's check it out. I'm gonna turn the volume down so get too upset on me. Thanks, Val. Val's watching. Or is Val here? I don't think I've seen her yet.
No, I'm going to invite her. What the heck?
I tagged her in my podcast too. She never came, so maybe she's I want to go. How do you get on this ship?
Right? Doesn't it make you want to go here?
Wait, this is the thing? I want to go.
Yeah.
Looks like
Probably not on the West Coast or the East Coast. Where am I? West Coast.
Get ready for Misfit Island. I almost did our first Alcatraz.
Yeah, it's badass. Yep. Big ass.
That part's cool. I like
Yep. I love that. Alcatraz in the back. It's sick.
I like this part. Like, what plants look like that, honestly?
And just in case you didn't know, it is a cannabis group. In case you didn't get that from.
You got out, huh?
Hey, Sarah.
We got over 500 members now, and
Yep.
We're climbing every day, guys, and we appreciate it.
We got a good comment here, guys. Crystal says, I had to put myself in a 10-day program for mental illness because I had got so bad. But when I was done, I came home. I felt so much better. Honestly, it's almost got to the point where I'm thinking of going back. So, Crystal, you definitely need to reset or recharge every now and then. But getting to the point where those triggers yourself and can do your own sort of reset. I also want to throw it to Dan because there's other ways to do resets.
I do my reset.
Right.
These aren't psychedelic mushrooms.
Right. Dan does his own reset, but Dan, you would admit that you also have people that you talk to for different things as far as during your reset as you're going through your trip and stuff like that. So you always need somebody, but it's tough to go all the way back through the program multiple times when you know what's happening. Just having those buddies, having that support system,
and finding a good person on the outside of that program to keep it going.
You can't just keep going back in. Yeah, like you got to find someone outside.
Sometimes I'd like to go to a 10-day program just so I could leave my phone away for 10 days. That would be amazing. But I
one of them, Crystal, if you could try to go to the nearest or that facility that you went to and see if they have any case management that could help with you. Because peer support specialists, that's what I was. They help a lot because it's people with lived experience that help people living through those experiences.
Yeah.
So try to get a hold of the nearest peer support specialist at your mental health facility in your county.
It's one reason this show
That's great advice.
Right.
Ricky says little conflicts are part of life. When you don't have them, you forget how to deal with them. Yeah, I mean, if your life is we found that people need struggle, didn't we? We found that you can't have a society with no struggle because it basically collapses. It has.
I'm fine without the struggle. Like if anyone wants to take mine, you can.
I know,
right? It was real, Cat. The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. All the way real.
On that note, my dad died about exactly 2 years ago almost. It's in 2021. And
Sorry.
And at the same time, thank you.
Condolences.
Just
Yeah.
a year before that, I was that's when my back started going bad and I had to quit work and start working on disability. So as a man, you know, I started coming down mentally and getting into depression because I didn't feel whole. But you know, that's one of the things that's important about mental health is, you know, working on your mental health. And like I say a lot, if we take care of it along the way, we don't have to take care of it all at once. Because whenever we get to that point, to that crisis mode, because there's early warning signs, you know, we can identify them because I've always taught we're the expert on ourselves. Granted, that being said,
Absolutely.
we don't always make the best decisions based on self, but we are our own experts. So it's up to us to be able to portray that message and what's going on with us to somebody that can help us, that is in a well place. Because if we're not in our well place, that fight, flight, freeze, or whatever, it's just not going to work right, you know. And it could come into a spot where it gets you in trouble or something. So,
well, Jimmy,
Yeah.
Jimmy, you've been quiet. I want to hear what you got to say about this. What do you think?
I don't know. Everybody has their own response to trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been one to run from anything, so
okay, Derek.
Usually, you know, when something goes down, I'm like the first one in the fight. Like Frank told his story about the dude pulling the gun on him. Me and my brother went to a bar one night and somebody pulled a gun on him, and I took the gun away from the guy and broke his arms.
As you should have.
Okay. What about feelings, though, guys and gals? Do we have that same response when it comes to relationships? You know, are we scared to love or scared to be alone, and so we do those things too?
I mean, I'm bipolar, so I definitely do. So that's one of the symptoms of bipolar.
When you push someone away, that's a definite flight response.
I definitely have always self-sabotaged relationships.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I know with me, if I feel like if it's uncomfortable or I feel attacked in any way, I shut down. That's my freeze point. In a lot of other situations, I don't freeze, but I won't say a word. I'll just stop because it's going nowhere good and I know it. So I just stop at that point, you know.
And that could be a borderline fawn too, because, you know, a lot of times I think in relationships that we want that relationship to work. So we try to do what we can to avoid conflict to make it work. So we might go to that fawn, back to that, you know, and but it could, there's a thin line there, that borderline between flight or freeze and fawn.
And then there's too the trauma response, where how many of us were in trouble for talking back by even saying yes, no, maybe so back. So that kicks in too. You know, you compile a bunch of those and a lot of real emotions come out where you want to do all three at the same time. You want to fight, you want to flee, and you want to freeze. And it's like whichever one comes out, you don't know.
Do you think that we each have like a general one of those three that we lean towards, or is it always situational no matter what? Because like Jimmy said, he would, I don't know if it's an enjoyment thing. I don't know if you want to use that word, but is it something like where some people like to fight? You know, it's like, hey, that's what I want to be in. And maybe
I do think some people,
or take out the fighting and say like the adrenaline rush of danger, right? Which we've talked about before, but like say, you know, whatever it is, like an extreme sport or something where there's danger and you do have to fight during those situations, even if it's just you by yourself. You're fighting to survive. You're fighting to get through a difficult situation. So Jimmy, do you think because you enjoy that experience, the adrenaline, or is it because you just think that you want to do whatever is necessary and not walk away from it, not turn away from it? Because some people, I think,
in that situation, the dude pulled a gun on my little brother.
Well, right. I mean, you had to act there for sure.
That's like someone's life is at stake. Yeah, I'm gonna jump into that's me.
But in that same sense, though, had you been standing next to someone else and it happened to them, pretty sure you probably would have done the same thing.
I would have done the same.
Probably would have.
Because you were,
It was
you
my
could
little
have
brother,
been.
but dude would have pulled a gun on anybody. I probably would have done the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, until you're in that situation, like, you really don't know. And it's different for each one of us. Like, I was in a situation one time, and I've always been someone, defend myself, protect myself, the people around me and everything. And one time I was at, not really a friend, more of an acquaintance, I guess. Like, this was a nice few years ago now, and I was hanging around some not nice people. And I showed up at his house, and he told me to come in and wait for him and stuff. And I knew him, like, went there all the time, whatever I was doing, it was fine. And I guess he got high on, something when he was in the bathroom while I was in the living room waiting for him and stuff. And he came out and just started, like, tripping on me, like, saying all these types of things, and thought that I had people in his house waiting for him to come out. And he pulled a knife on me. And yeah, he pulled a knife on me, and he was like, 3 times my size, like, probably 10, 15 years older than me. And he was really, like, messed up on whatever he was doing. Like, I know what it is, don't matter. And anyways, he pulled a knife on me, and he was just, like, pouring sweat and, like, freaking out, thinking that I had people in his house. And I just kept, like, I didn't know what to do. I did more of the fawn, like, trying to please him and tell him, like, no, my God, like, we're good friends. Like, I give you rides all the time. I'm always here, helping you out. Like, why would I ever do that and stuff? I was like, come on, like, let's just go outside for a smoke, right? Like, let's go outside and get some fresh air. And
at that point, you say what you say to save your life.
Yeah, when we got outside, I was in flight mode. Like, my car was right there in the driveway, and I just wanted to run and jump in my car. But when we got out by the door, I realized my purse with my keys and my phone were still sitting on the fucking kitchen table. So I couldn't leave, and he's just standing there. And thankfully, like, once we got outside and stuff, he kind of, like, snapped back to reality. But it was like, at first I was like freeze mode, then it was more like fawn, like trying to convince him, we're okay, we're friends. And then I was in complete flight mode, but I was still like, I couldn't leave because my keys were left in his house and shit. Like, it was the craziest experience of someone like that I knew for a long time. And yeah, it was,
first of
all
Kat,
the emotions.
Good job, because being able to, I think that was your natural instincts taking over, because you had to use which one of those you needed at that moment in time.
Yeah.
And I think that freeze part, or not freeze, but the fawn part you're talking about, I think that was more of a de-escalating thing. So where you're trying to de-escalate his anger so you can make that flight movement.
Yeah, it was the best choice. Yeah, you kept your wits about you in that moment, because you could have ran and got shot.
Yeah, well,
you could have ran and got killed.
Yeah, it wasn't a gun, but it was,
or stabbed,
something that, and we were in this little tiny apartment, so there's no way for me to even, like, get past him without being, like, right next to him, and anyways, after that day, I never ever went around him again, and he tried to apologize 1,000,000 times and shit. I was like, no, like, you literally, I've never had
sorry, I was having a bad day.
Like,
and now if I was in that situation, I would have chose the fight, because that's the way my upbringing was by my father, and the area I grew up was a rough area, and that's just the way we were. And
now you say that, but as a male, and it was a female doing that, would you still choose to fight, or would you choose to try to de-escalate the situation? Because that puts you in her shoes as a female and a male.
He was like 300 pounds and like
and I was
on like crack
it kind of changes the situation there.
If it was another female, then it might have been different.
Oh, if it was another female like my size, if I would have had a weapon or something too, I'm sure it would have been different. But I was shocked. Like, he came out of his bathroom, like, and just, accuse it, and like with a knife, and I was just like, whoa, like, I had no idea that he was even upset. He told me 5 minutes before this, oh, come in, wait, I'll be out in a minute. Boom, just completely changed, but yeah, like, I'm maybe 120 pounds, he was like 300, grown ass man, like, I didn't stand a chance. Like, there's no chance I was doing anything against him. Like, it was pretty fucked up.
I mean, that's where we can lead into a couple things that I got written down here. With it's different for every person, but then there are scenarios. Some of the big ones very recently that we still have going on here in the States. We still have school shootings We still have bank robberies that are going on every single day. There's burning buildings with people inside of them. Are you going to rush into the burning buildings? Are you going to get involved in the bank robbery that's going on? Are you going to get involved in the school shooting that's going on? Just a couple weeks ago, we had a guy with mental health issues on a train ended up getting killed because people got involved and they put a chokehold on the guy trying to restrain him, and they actually killed him. You know,
We talked about that on here, I think.
There's certain things, certain situations, all these different scenarios that we think firsthand, yeah, we're going to get involved. But in a bank robbery, fuck you, I'm standing here. That money don't mean shit to me. That bank is insured, and they're going to get all of that back plus some. Take all
But
that
what if
fucking
he was
money.
holding up a lady and her baby though? Like you probably would get involved. That's the thing you don't know.
On the
Like
street, yep. Inside a bank, it's a different scenario.
yeah.
So
And everybody's mind is
Yeah,
different.
fuck
Because
a
for
bank
me,
robbery.
yeah, but a school shooting, I'm killing somebody. You
Yeah,
better
money.
pray to God. You better
Well,
pray
you
to
wanna
God that the
reiterate
cops get to you before I do.
Yep.
you mean you're going after the?
Yeah, we do not condone violence.
Don't do that.
It doesn't have to be a school
You'd be
shooting.
going after the person
Right.
doing the crime, not the if you want to clarify.
That guy in Philadelphia was over the weekend. There were 24 mass shootings over the 4-day weekend.
It's horrible.
States. And one of them
I
was
mean-
walking down the street with an AK-47, shooting people at random in Philadelphia. I think it was Philadelphia. And
And
killed 5 people.
you go with pedophile situations. I'm not turning the cheek. I'm not turning the head. I'm not looking the other way. So
I mean, there's
certain
some
situations-
good, yeah.
Yeah. So you think about it, how deep does it really, really go? Melanie, let's go ahead and, if you don't mind, I would like to lead into your story about your neighbor, if we could, if you're ready for that.
So here's the trigger warning. Suicide, gun violence, all that other stuff. So if you need to leave for 2 minutes, do that, please, because I don't want to trigger anybody. But 3 years ago, and then we disappeared.
I thought I glitched out.
I know. I was like, "Damn, everybody left." like nobody. They're like, "No, we ain't listening to it." I couldn't sleep, and I went out front to have a cigarette. It was a little after midnight, and I heard a little bit of yelling, and then I heard a bang, which I thought at the time was maybe a door. And then the gal came running out, and she's screaming. So then I start running over there because he was much larger than her, and I thought he was hurting her. And I had my phone. I was like, okay. So I run straight over there, and she's out front on the phone, and she's yelling, "My boyfriend shot himself." And I just didn't, without thinking, I was like, "Is he still alive?" And she goes, "I don't know." So I fucking ran in there. And it was bad. But I found a pulse, and like it was futile. But I told the operator I found a pulse, and she's like, do CPR. And I had to take the gun out of his hand, and I don't want to like go too far with you guys, but like cover the wound that wasn't there. And anyway, it got pretty intense. And then
first aid, right?
I had to administer first aid, yeah, and all the aspects of CPR. And then I hear Melanie, come out with the gun, put the gun down and come out. And this is 12:30 in the morning. We have a tiny little neighborhood. There's 5 officers at the doorway with guns drawn on me. I was just like, holy fuck. And they can't see where I'm coming from. And I'm still on the phone with 911, so I'm holding it up and I'm screaming, it's a phone. The gun's, I left the gun there. And so, so I came out, and like the first officer came straight up to me, and he's like, you're going to need to talk to someone. But they had to like do the gunshot residue and everything. And, I was pretty soaked in blood, and it took me months of intense therapy that they send first responders to be able to get that out of my head. Would I do it again? Probably, without even fucking thinking about it.
I bet
And
you.
I don't know why. That just like, but I just felt like if I could save somebody, if I could fucking save somebody, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna let someone die right there. You know, there was a fire down the street. I ran up to I got the dog out, you know, like, I don't know. If it's a fire in my house, I'm getting my shit out and leaving. But then I see a different fire and I'm going in. You know, like I said, if that were to happen, as traumatic as it was, I would, God, I would do it again if there's a chance that it would save somebody.
Well, that's like we were talking about a few minutes ago. You know, people talk about, well, would you run to danger if you were a male or a female? Would it matter? And things of that sort. And it's like, you proved right there that it didn't matter at all. Your stature, your gender, anything at all. You are just the type of person that you wanted to run in there and help.
And
And a
his
lot
girlfriend ran out.
Hang on.
You know, the person that loved him and cared for him and all that ran out. You as
Well,
a stranger ran in.
Okay, so I don't want it to sound like oh she ran out. She couldn't handle it. Was a sight, you guys. It was most people would have ran the fuck
And
out.
when it's
It
someone you
was
love and stuff too, it's a million times like how can yes.
This is like some gory movie shit that I had to learn trajectory because it was a 22, and I don't know if you guys know about guns or who does. I couldn't understand how a 22 did what it did. That's how bad it was. So I had to literally go to gun shops and learn about trajectory and how this possibly could have happened. Like I had to really dig deep to figure out what the fuck, because he was a big dude too. And but one thing I do want to put in here about mental health, because mental health is always an important subject. They both suffered from suicidal tendencies and attempts. I didn't know until after the fact, he was self-medicating. He wasn't taking his own pills. He was drinking heavily. He had a lot of guns, and he used to play with them and do this often by putting it up to his head. So many, many, many red flags, you guys. If you see any of those, please try to help somebody. You know, I didn't know anything, and I lived across the street from him and talked to him every few days. You know, so that part got me, you know. So if you can help somebody ahead of time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
For sharing that, Melanie. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Melanie, for sure. But think about that battle within each of us individually. That's what she's talking about. Suicide. That's where you decide to run. You're like, life's too hard. It's too much. It's too everything. And you decide that you think you're ready to leave. And I've been there myself. I've had I've gone down that same path. I can't say that I've, was anywhere close to this man, but I know that's definitely a battle within all of us. Do we fight to survive? Do we fight to get ahead? Or do we just let it wash over us? Because like I said before, we need that struggle. We can't have things just handed to us. We always think that things will be easier if I make this success or that success. It doesn't become easier. It becomes different.
You have different problems. Yeah.
Correct.
Like the richer you are, the more in debt you are. If you're rich and I'm poor, when I get $100, that's my $100. When you get $100, you owe it to your credit company. You know what I mean? So there's who's richer, you know? Really, your people, when you see something, say something for sure. Yeah.
Sure.
You know, a lot of it goes back to kind of what Ricky was saying too, and if we don't use it, we lose it. If we don't practice these different things, and in different situations with conflicts, kind of like we do this show. We welcome ideas that are for or against the subject we're talking about, or whatever it is, because having that diverse angles and perspectives about different things, it helps us see different light on things. But like I was saying, if we don't use it, going back to when I was reclusive for a couple of years when my dad died, I stopped using all that, and I just, kind of recluse and became a hermit and didn't talk to anybody. And I quit having conflict. So whenever I first came out of that depression, I didn't want to go out in public a lot because I didn't want to come across any conflicts, because I was afraid which one I would take. I didn't want to get, I was still a little bit angry. So I didn't want to take that out on something, So it's, it all depends on where we're at in our mental state too, how well them things work.
And we truly need to know when to use it. Natural instinct might kick in, but then I know I hate the statement, and I still use it as a man. Where do you stand and fight? You know what I mean? And that's where my story comes into effect as some of you guys know, some of you don't. My arm has metal rod going from here all the way down.
I'm sorry.
These are steel pins, hinges, all of that in here. My wrist is all metal, pins, hinges, goes all the way in. They said that I would never move my arm again, that I would never move my fingers again. It would be strapped to my chest the rest of my life. I was walking down the street one day, and a group of guys were walking the opposite direction. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and instead of fleeing, I chose to fight. You can only fight so many people. You can only stand for so long, and when there's crowbars, baseball bats, they were looking for somebody to jump and beat up, and I was that person. And they shattered my arm, stabbed me several times. I got ripped with a crowbar. They ripped half of my side off. Just beat me to an inch of my life. But I walked away in the long run, and I'm still here. But I chose to fight instead of flee. Should I have fled at one point in time? 100%. I do regret it today. But in a way, it has made me the person that I am today. This was 23 years ago.
You would have always regretted it, thinking, "Oh, I could have taken that. I could have done it. I could have done it."
I could have done this, could have done that. I'm not bragging or anything, but I held my own to the point that I could.
I think that's why.
But
in the city, right?
Would my life be different if I didn't go through 4 years of not being able to move my arm, intensive physical therapy, massive drug addiction because of the pain pills and everything else that I was on? I had gone to, methamphetamines and all types of stuff because the pain was just unbearable. And I was depressed. I couldn't do, it was my arm. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't get a job because I was in too much pain, couldn't do this, that, and the other. So it was one of them things that.
You'd be a different person for sure.
Oh, 100%. 100% would be a different person.
Asshole. You could be a terrible person right now.
And
I've thought the same thing about different
mistakes. But that comes into the situation. You're walking down the street. Are you going to stand there? Are you going to kind of flee? You got to know when to flee. You have to.
You're right. When to use those, because I think as we get older, we learn to respond rather than react. Mm-hmm. And I was a reactor for years, and I've learned, sometimes you got to assess the situation, like Kat did. You got to, or whether it become instinct. That happens.
You can start to form like habits as how you react. But yeah, but like I've heard that you got to know when to hold them.
And when to fold them.
Fold them too. Oh, you know what? That's good. I should add that to that. You also have to know when to fold them. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Guys, I want to point out we got 23 awesome people watching on the Rumble side, on my Rumble at least. Might have so many on Steve-O's Rumble too. 20 people on the Facebook side, guys. Thank you all for
hello, Kasia.
I got
all the participation in the comments, guys. How many, Steve-O? Sorry? 12 people. Awesome. Very cool.
Nice.
Over 50 people hanging out, guys. All the participation has been awesome. Now, I do apologize. Sometimes I'm not going to read them as someone's telling a story. But there's some pretty heartfelt comments out here. I mean, Amanda, my heart's going out to you right now for sure. I have no idea
Yeah,
how to
I see that. Yes.
That's something, you know.
I don't have comments right now.
She says, sorry, but my hard question is, how do I get over feeling my daughter's heart actually stop beating?
Oh, wow.
You'll never get over it.
Like, I don't think
it'll get lighter, but you'll never get over it.
You'll find
there's always going to be an invisible bruise that certain things are going to trigger it right off the bat.
I can feel with you and holding my parents' hand until he passed away. I held and watched my father pass. He had stage 4 lung cancer, and
I'll make us bigger.
He fought it. They told him he had 2 months to live, and he said, well, we smoke. What can you do to help? I said, let's smoke more. Let's eat it. Let's make edibles. And so those are things that we did. And he ended up living for 2 years past that 2 months. So it helped him out in a tremendous way. But I watched and held my father's hand as he gasps for those last breaths, because lung cancer ends up completely stopping your lungs to where they end up filling with fluid to a point where you no longer can breathe, and it really lets you drown. And there's nothing that can be done. It's a slow thing, and they end up giving you give you an overdose basically of medication, of morphine or fentanyl, to try to take care of that pain so that you ease into it easily and it's not as painful for you.
Frank.
So it doesn't go away. It is always there.
Well, back up though, Frank. Did you was it hard for you to stay there? Did you have the feeling that you wanted to run? You wanted to just leave? You didn't want to be there? That's hard to do. Sometimes you have multiple siblings. Maybe there's only, the one sibling that will be willing to do it, and
Well, my dad had all of his boys there. We were all there. Didn't want to be, but I promised I would be. So held the word.
Hey, and you can tell yourself a lot of things, and there's a lot of ways to get beyond what you have as grief and turn it into something else. And I don't know if this is necessarily getting us off topic, but it's all sort of connected, because grief is something that you can fight, flight, or run away from as well. Or freeze up at as well. And the thing about grief is that yes, like everyone's saying, you don't quite get over it in effect, because you don't forget the person. But
I think we do all of them
positive
when it comes to grieving.
You can put your energy into something positive because of it. Look at all the mothers out there for various things, drunk driving, different drug addictions, who've been out there and become giant champions, and fathers too. I know there was a father of the child that was shot in a school shooting, and that father is out there now as a major proponent for that, for the fight for that, and so a lot of that's happened because of bad, terrible, traumatic situations. And I just got a little chill because of it, because it's such a real moment where a bad thing becomes a good thing, and we find that in our day-to-day, where we struggle through something and it becomes a terrible situation, but then it ended up becoming a good thing or a good lesson. Like Jason said, maybe Jason, you could have been a total prick right now by like having some success that you didn't deserve instead of that. And I've thought the same thing. It's like I could have gone down the path of alcoholism and stayed that direction from the military, because the military was like a prerequisite. Alcohol was okay, cannabis not okay, no matter what the situation is. So I think to myself all the time, which way would I have gone? And I clammed up. I would say I froze for about 10 years. About 10 years. I was just treading water. Mm-hmm. I'm here. Bills are not really paid, but I still have a house, a roof over my head. It wasn't a house. I lived in apartments for a long time. And it's like, once you feel that you're in motion again, it's a real feeling, when you feel like, oh, you're not frozen so much anymore. You're not so much more anxious anymore. And a lot of us use cannabis to counteract anxiety. I know that's true. Let me just read what Google says about Fight Flight.
Hang on 1 second with that. I want to address Amanda here real quick because she says, "Sorry guys, didn't mean to bring the chat down down, fam. Like, don't ever apologize
You're
for
about to
that.
get yelled at for
Ever.
apologizing, is what you're about to be.
Ever apologize for that, because when you feel the need to put that out there, that means you have to put it out there right then,
We did
or
our
it's going to
job.
tear you up.
Yeah.
You need advice. You need something right then. And I don't care what time of day or anything that I'm going through. I would much rather have somebody reach out than for me to get the phone call tomorrow that something negative happened because they didn't reach out today. So do not, please, Amanda, do not ever apologize for that. Because when you reach out like that, that's what you were doing right then. You needed advice and you were reaching out for your mental health. Mental health matters. Mental
Also,
health matters.
my husband had passed, and so I it's 10 years this year, so I understand the fighting it. It took me 6 years to even start to grieve because I refused to. I was on autopilot. I understand having to go through all that, and I understand not getting things out of your mind. But if you want to message me, love, I can share some of the therapy that I went through both of these experiences with you, and maybe you can look into it.
Awesome.
It's very helpful.
That's what I want.
Anybody, you guys can reach out to me.
I want to see us helping people like that.
Yeah, the therapy I went through is EMDR and brain spotting, and it would take me a while to like explain it all and stuff like that. But it is very, very emotional. It brings it up, and it's gonna make you go through some shit, but it's gonna teach you how to do that and be able to calm down, and then think of those times and be able to bring yourself back instead of going straight to the panic attack or straight to the moment.
Right.
And yeah, it took a long time, but it helped. It helped.
I want to hear what Kasia has to say before she hits the ball, because you've been up here a little bit already. Do you have anything to say?
Hi, Kasia.
Well, if you if you as a bereaved parent want to reach out to another bereaved parent, I'm always here. It's 10 years. I wasn't there when she took her last breath or anything like that, but she was 2 months old. I got to hold her in my arms for 2 months, and then I lost her. So I'm always here if you want to talk. Fight or flight, though. I mean, I'm a short ass person, but I have a big person mentality. It doesn't matter. I'm one of those people that, especially if someone I know is getting picked on or something like that, that's usually where my fighting ever happened, was someone else being fought. My dad was military. He taught me how to fight when I was young. I could hurt someone severely with a fucking book.
Fuck around and find out, right?
I have a question, Kasia. I have a question. You're probably the only one of us on screen that's recently been near an incursion from a bear. Like that's a true flight or freeze mechanism there. I mean, we're talking a lot about fighting each other as humans, but I cannot imagine. Like, what did you do? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that story? Because I don't remember the details. Did you see the bear? Did you just know that it was there? Like, what happened? Because you were camping with friends, remember? Right? Am I wrong?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it was. So they have warnings. The first warnings are the property dogs. The property dogs start barking. Something's there, and then the siren goes off. When the siren goes off, then it's in the campgrounds. The campgrounds is big. It could be on any side of the campgrounds. You don't know. So you can hang out by the campfires next to your camp thing or go inside your tents. My tent flipped over, so there was just all kinds of craziness with mine. I was the only one in mine. Did a bear flip
again.
over or no?
Nobody knows. Everyone was just like, I don't know. I like popped out of my tent. I was like, what happened? And everyone's like, are you okay? I'm like, I mean, I guess.
It would be if my tent wasn't upside down.
You were inside the tent when it flipped
I was
over?
inside the tent, and then I had an air mattress, so the air mattress and like the whole tent flipped over. The air mattress slid out from underneath me, and I just face planted.
Looks like
you pissed off a goat. You pissed off the forest fucking spirit or something. That motherfucker Sasquatch come out, Bigfoot pulled the fucking tent out. No tent is just gonna flip over with somebody inside of it.
So the bear, yeah.
Yeah, so what happened, Keisha? The alarm went off, and then what was it?
The bears, the people that they ransacked, just said that they went after the food coolers that were outside their tent. So they didn't put it in the bear boxes like they're supposed to.
Yeah, that would.
They put it in coolers outside their tent. So the bears went in, but the bears also like moved stuff that wasn't food out of the way and just went after the food.
They are very intelligent, like when it comes to that type of thing. My dad told me one went in through their cabin when he was a little boy and came right in through the cabin and just ripped the stove out and ripped the fridge out, ate everything inside. They were up on top of the top bunks. The bear didn't touch them, but just ripped the stove and the fridge out and ate everything and just left again after like ripping it all out. Like they're smart. Like it's crazy.
There's a 100-pound brown bear that was walking through someone's yard here not too long ago. Like last week, I think I saw the posting online.
You don't want to run from a bear, though.
That's
what
crazy.
they want you to do. The bear wants you to run so it can hunt you and then kill you.
You don't want to run.
I don't understand why you wouldn't put your shit in a bear box if there's a bear box there.
I know, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Natural selection, you know, natural selection, really. I don't
know why you would have your food containers right next to
That
your
part, Cat, right there.
But
it came out
stupid things, you get stupid consequences.
They're just like, here's the food. I'll be here for dessert. You know, come.
I don't want to hear the raccoons, possums, any of that shit eating that shit. All that shit goes in the car.
Let alone bears, and you know that like the sites have them up around there. You're like, oh, there's a perfectly good thing to protect myself and my food in, and here's just the stupid decision. Let's go with that.
They can smell from far away.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They smell stupid real good.
Yeah, no doubt. But it could have been a quick decision. Like you never know if people just showed up getting unpacked or something, or could have just forgot it was out. But either way, like when it comes to wildlife in those situations, you don't want to make those types of mistakes because it can be life endangering for sure.
Now,
I wonder how the bear felt.
Right? Like, damn it, there's nothing in this big fluffy like marshmallow. He thought the tent was something in there. Where there's nothing. It's all air. There's nothing in it.
Well, I got one scenario that I don't believe anybody's been in. A plane hijacking.
Can't say that I have.
I do fly in a lot of planes.
It's,
Oh, I took him down by myself. So.
Or even not even
you
a
guys
plane
probably heard about
hijacking,
it.
people acting crazy on a plane, because we see people recording it all the time. All these people acting crazy on a plane before it takes off, just getting loud, obnoxious. Like, do you get involved? Do you not get involved? What do you do?
Well, you won't believe how many darn snakes I seen on this goddamn plane.
I'll be right
I've
back.
never been on a plane, and honestly, stuff like that really like petrify me because I'm super claustrophobic. And if someone started freaking out and acting crazy, like I wouldn't be able to handle it. Like I would not be able to handle that shit. I'd be like, ejectocito, like I'm jumping out through the back or something. Like I'm out.
Ejectocito, cuz. I love it.
Like I can't.
You got to deal with people
Given the right opportunity, I
for the
would
win.
jump on it to help. Because I mean, just the way I am, I think given the right opportunity, if I could help de-escalate that situation, I would. I mean,
Awesome.
depending, make sure that of course, I take in aspects if it hurt anybody else, or if it's just going to hurt me, or or if we're in the air, if that shot's going to hurt all of us. So you never know.
Well, like you say, you do have like it seems like mental health training, and you were doing different aspects with that. So someone like yourself would actually have that type of training or knowledge, or like to be able to control their sense of emotion and reaction in those situations, you know, to de-escalate that. Someone like me that's super claustrophobic and anxious and shit, I'd be like, holy, like I'd probably make it worse, you know?
Right.
Like that would not be a
Top
good
shelf.
situation for me.
Totally understand. Totally understand.
Guys, if you see me mute, I'm whenever I see people moving or talking, I'm trying to let's try to keep the side noise down if we can. I know it's tough with a lot of people, but we usually do really well.
And one at a time.
With as many people up, yeah. Actually, we're doing really well tonight as far as that goes. It's been just unmuted him too.
I mute myself.
I try to mute when I'm not talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, we haven't heard an experience from you. What do you got?
Well,
we got some good ones.
I mean, I suppose I could tell one. About 6 years ago, in March, my mother she died in a house fire.
What?
Oh.
And my
wow.
brother was he arrived on the scene. So did my stepdad, and neither one of them idiots ran in there and tried to save my mother. And it pissed me off for a long time. But then I realized once I saw the reports and everything, it was completely engulfed. She had oxygen cylinders shooting and firing out of the house, and you know, like right through the walls, straight up into the sky. You know, because she was on
torpedoes.
oxygen.
Yeah.
So then I had to stop being pissed. You know, but you know, I was more pissed. You know, I blamed myself, to tell you the truth. I had nightmares for years because all I kept hearing was her screaming my name and begging for me to save her because I'm the oldest boy and I was always her big boy, you know. And yeah, that tore me up. I don't want to talk about it no more. But thanks, though. I shouldn't have brought that one up. But that and my leg getting amputated and falling and breaking this leg, I'm terrified to fall now. So I have like that, you know, that thing, you know, to where now I worry about falling all the time too, you know. So
We love you, brother. For real, man. We love you.
I want to thank you for
Thank you for that.
sharing that with us.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
I love Steve-O. Yeah, you're a very, you know, super strong, amazing person, and I want you to know definitely I'm always here. Always, always, always. I know you know that, but we're all always here.
You made an impact on my life, brother, for real.
Thank you, man.
From the bottom of my heart, I mean that. You're amazing.
Thank you.
I don't want to make you guys jealous, but Steve-O, you know, Jimmy and I will be giving Steve-O a big fat hug here a couple days for everybody. Gonna be ringing in today with him.
I don't want to make you jealous.
Yeah,
we all want to give him a hug.
I hope maybe it did a little bit.
It did. That's why I flipped you off.
Yeah, no, we love you, Steve-O. You know, he's been dedicated ever since I've known him. So we're dedicated to you too, brother. Thank you for sharing. You know,
100%.
That's the main thing. You know, we like to get off on hypotheticals. We like to get off on some of the details of the information, but we want to hear people's angles and their experience, because nobody can argue with that. You know, the stuff like Steve-O just said, the stuff he went through while it was happening is a completely different thing than after knowing a little more. And most of us, we are reactionary. Most of us have instinctual, you know, and we do that. We see that on social media. Does anyone ever regret hitting send on a comment or hitting enter when they post something? Immediately delete it, you know?
I do.
You
recently
made an impulsive decision because you've gotten angry or something like that. And
I literally recently just did something because someone else had an opinion and it made someone else catch backlash. So I made a post and I said a certain genetics sucked. I don't know. I just made a post of what someone else's opinion was, and it wasn't right of me. So I did that stupidly, and I removed that. because it shouldn't have been done. It was dumb of me to do that.
Right.
It was in a bit of aggravation
You felt
and
threatened, though,
ill
right?
choice for it.
Heat of the moment type shit
Yeah,
happens. Like
yeah. It was a heat of a moment of I was there and there was only one person that caught hell on it, really. And that wasn't all right that shit happened. But then it also made me feel that someone gets attacked over an opinion. So I then stupidly decided in a bit of heat of the moment that, oh, here, I'm just going to post this because why? Why can't someone have an opinion? And that was fun to do that.
Well, so let me ask you this. So you decided you made a choice to take it back, but do we think it's better? We've talked recently about how whether we think the internet's a good or a bad and net positive. Do we think it's better now that we don't have that reach or that ability to reach out and decide to go from words to fists a lot quicker than we used to?
a lot
Or a
less
lot
would
slower
be
than we
said.
used to. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So now we have the ability to fight and argue over petty, tweets or comments, and maybe we never know where that person lives. We don't even know what that person looks like half the time.
A lot less would be said and done if it wasn't for the internet. Like if people were just showing up at each other's door, like, meet me up front or whatever in 5 minutes, like what used to happen and shit before all like social media and talking to people all over, like a lot less people would be running their mouth because they'd be like, oh shit, this person's gonna show up at my house. Like this person's neighbor. Like
You didn't take the bait. I was laying some bait out there thinking that people would say, oh yeah, it's much better that we can just use words instead of violence, but it still ends up turning into violence because you have a lot of disaffected people online who are the ones that get twisted into pushed into some of these horrific acts. And we've seen documented cases where they were sort of radical online, didn't have a connection, didn't have friends, didn't something about their online presence was bad, and they ended up getting sucked into the wrong type of people. So I think you're right. I think, Kat, sometimes we need to act out those physical, that back and forth. Sometimes we're friends after. A lot of times we become friends after that old hearty old fist fight. A lot of times, like the old.
Well, it's not even about that though, Waylon. It's
my
more
buddies
that
are
like
there with.
the online bullying and harassment can continue forever, and like you don't even know where it's coming from. It's people can do it anonymous, and people can do it under fake accounts and all these different things. So like the bullying, the harassment, all that shit can just keep continuing and not really be stopped compared to like before the internet and social media. Like your parents would probably know who these people were, or you would know, or like they're in your community type thing. It's not just coming from a screen that you have no idea who it is, and they could come at you from 10 different accounts, or there's a lot added to it with social media for sure.
I feel like a lot more people have gotten like backbones because it's online and because they think no one's going to come after them in their actual life. But there are people that come after people in their normal life just because of some shit that happened online, and it's stupid.
I had someone actually message me as an admin in Homegrown with Love that said this person was rude and was downgrading them about mental health, and that they said, they don't realize that I have the means and the money to get to them if I wanted to. They said I'm not that type of person, but people don't realize, these keyboard warriors don't realize that some people can get to you and will. And a lot of people these days, they take text out of context, and it's really
Oh yeah.
South.
You're gonna read text how you in your mood.
Yeah.
If you're in a shit mood, that hey, I want to talk to you later is gonna come out. Hey, I want to talk to you later. You know what I mean? Like very different. It depends on your mood. It's crazy.
Hi, JC.
Hi, JC.
And well, to Lisa's point, some people are just that crazy now. The internet allows us to put all the crazy people on in one box.
So, are you talking about all of us right now, Waylon? Like, what are you trying to say?
Like, or 10.
I'm in one box. But no, like it allows the concentration of their voice. So we all have seen it because we all are living it as well. We find our
quote family online, right? We're finding our friends, our
We're
close.
living it as well, but this is our everyday life for some of us.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of us on screen spend 10 hours a day online, plus 5 hours a day doing paperwork and this and that, trying to figure out how the show's going to go, plus another couple hours a day trying to make some videos and some content. And this is our everyday life. So when it comes to the online bullying or trolling, it truly does affect our mental health. You know, Waylon can contest, and I know a couple other people. We watch our numbers. We watch the likes. We watch the reactions. If somebody, you know, makes a frowny face or a mad face about a post or a video that we did, you know, we watch how many people are following us, how many people unfollowed us that day. And that affects us, you know.
It affects
And
your hormones.
Even though
the troll comments, you know, the stupid comments that are on there that don't need to be on there. It's just, it affects us.
And I'm in the process of learning all that, Jason, because I've only been around since the beginning of April. And
Oh, you're gonna need some thick skin.
There's
I fucking guarantee it. Like a lot of people know my name, and it's from a lot of people know my name and a couple other people's names, and it's not for good reasons. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's not why I want you to know my name.
There's a portion of the brain that actually
we love you, Melanie.
Research, a study shows that
Love you too.
Somebody sends an emoji, your brain actually relates it to like you're one-on-one with them. So even the emoji over the internet during a study has the same emotional
It helps, but
impact.
it's still translated differently among different people.
No, I mean if you put that same sentence with the smiley face emoji, then it's gonna come up as like, "Hey, we need to talk."
The brain,
you know what I mean? Like,
brain responds to it.
It's almost like seeing the. It's like I see what he's saying. It's like seeing the facial, the facial movement. You know,
I put a lot of emojis in my speak because I think they help, but I still think that people look at them a little differently. Like the care emojis look very differently at different angles. Like
yeah,
you know, even the love emoji. The love. I've been accused of hitting love on like certain girls. Like I hit love on like almost like a lot of the posts that I see. And then it's like, oh, you hit love on this person. It's like there are other friends on your list that that only have certain mutual friends. They don't see you. They don't see all of what you're doing. They just want to pick out, they're watching you from the background. And so to Jason's point, the internet, like we're always on that sort of heightened alert sense if we are working within this sphere, because we have perceived threats around every corner, right? Including the platform that we're on. There's a perceived threat from it all the time. Even though it's done a few good things.
Dopamine. We all get dopamine off of Facebook.
Off the internet, yeah.
It all feeds our reward center and kind of get addicted.
But it also can feed our fear center too, though.
Yeah.
It's
like Frank said earlier about him making that post, and he didn't know it was off an opinion. You know, so one person says one negative comment, well, that reaches 5 people. One of them 5 people say a negative comment, that reaches 5 more people, you know, and it's just a cascading effect. And all of a sudden, there's 30 people that are talking bad about your group that have no clue what's even going on. They don't even know anything. They don't even know what you're trying to promote. Yeah. They don't even know what you're trying to promote or what you're trying to do or what you're trying to achieve, you know, and it's just all of a sudden that bam.
And then, like, you know, in a way with what happened, I basically wanted to pull some sort of the heat off of where it was to somewhere else because I didn't feel that it was right that it got centered on the one individual per se.
Right.
So I was like, hey, I was there too. If you're going to say something to that person, then why weren't you doing things towards me then? So then I put it on my page just to say, hey, here's an opinion then. I was there. This was the opinion. This isn't allowed. And simply stating that then made it horrible onto me as well, as if I was the one that stated that opinion. I have no opinion because I don't know. But it was a very dumb choice. It's why it was removed. and I apologize for it. It was stupid.
We are human. We make
Lots of people
fucked up
do that
decisions sometimes, you know? I mean, but if we own it, then that's all you can do. We're gonna fuck up because we're human.
Well, that's why I brought it up.
Let's just own it and you know,
Yep.
and go
Yeah,
forward.
have
I
like
have
not
this on
the
there,
most patience and a
so
short.
I have to try to
Yeah.
do that.
There you
I'm
go.
definitely.
That's why I brought up how some of us tend to like gravitate towards conflict. We like it, some of us. That's a different thing. That's different than the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism.
I hate it.
Because
Yeah.
that mechanism is like the thing that happens when you are not expecting it, but fucking danger is in your face. And we do have that artificial danger from the internet, right? Where it's like, oh, there might be danger to my pocketbook or danger to my public persona, whatever it is, my friendship. So there is like these soft dangers or these more mental sort of dangers. But the mechanism was developed for like the actual real life dangers. We've talked about animals. We talked about between humans, tribal dangers, things like that. But now we're sort of using the same mechanism. Like we still get that same adrenaline rush in our body, even though we are having some sort of a conversation through the internet digitally. You know, like, what's that needed for? I don't need this adrenaline that's hitting me right now. No. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, it's just excitement, even though.
You know, I mentioned earlier, you know, what did the bear feel? And the reason I said that, excuse me, is because I was thinking of that, you know, like, not to get religious, but speaking of God's will, sort of say, okay. God's will, humans are the only creature that doesn't automatically do God's will. We have to be taught, you know, and animals, they automatically have that instinct to know that fight, flight, or freeze, I would believe, you know, and it's the humans, I think somehow down the line we're taught how we react to those certain fight, flight, or freeze.
So you don't think it's instinctual?
No, because we stick our hand in fire. An animal is not going to stick their hand in fire.
Right.
Yeah. I'll move a log in the fire.
Fight or freeze is
You're right.
natural, but you mean how we react to things.
Killer whales and dolphins have though.
Hi, Crystal.
There are
So,
some things that do on Earth.
Real quick, two things. I want to make sure that everybody on screen gets the opportunity. I didn't say this earlier, but you are allowed to link your page if you guys want to. It should have been done earlier. I should have said something, but StreamYard has this ability now. I guess like as many people as they want to, or as I want to, can just link their page, which is pretty cool. On top of the normal amount of slot. But the other thing I wanted to bring up earlier is there was a story of a young girl, and I think this might have happened a couple times, found actually living among wolves. Like, do you guys remember this story? I think it was a British story, or I have to look it up, but yeah, she was literally abandoned. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but ended up adapting to live among wolves. What am I hearing? Is that a dog or an animal?
I think we hear a wolf. It's a wolf.
Oh
man,
is that kid? Do you have that kid chained up as a wolf? No.
He's like, oh, you mean her?
Yeah, right. She comes in, he pulls this chain, and she's
wolf, man.
Like she's biting him. No, I mean it's funny, but it's not because like it like really happened. But that kid developed some fucking instincts that were probably pretty insane. I would have to say. Excuse my French.
Oh, the attack instincts. Can you imagine?
She could never fully if I remember the story right, could never fully reintegrate or speak English even. Spoke very few words. This is how the story went afterwards. So you might be right about that instinct being something that's taught. Let's see. Rhino, you were talking earlier about cortisol, and I have pulled this up. Cortisol is an essential hormone that affects almost every organ and tissue in your body. It plays many important roles, including regulating your body's stress response.
Inflammation.
I sent you something, Malin, on it.
Okay.
It is medicines. You were correct, Melanie.
Control your body's use of fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, or your metabolism. your metabolism and stress. Like, and then I pulled up also the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. Let's see.
In the brain.
It says the fight response is your body's way of facing any perceived threat aggressively. Flight means your body urges you to run from danger, and freeze is your body's inability to move or act against a threat. Now that to me sounds like freeze is not a good thing, but I thought it was. But maybe it's this next one, which is fawn, which you guys said earlier. So there's actually 4 of them now, freeze and fawn. Fawn is your body's stress response to try to please someone to avoid conflict. Now that can also be done, in nature too. You think you could be nice to the bear, maybe.
Well, I mean,
trying that one.
Give him a picnic basket.
Like, I was just gonna say, come here, Yogi.
I just imagine up the creek, or what is that? Up without a paddle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just drops fetal, and he gets carried away like a baby, and is now all of a sudden baby cub bear.
Yeah.
Do you guys know why they didn't make another Yogi Bear?
What do you mean another?
Because they made a boo boo.
Hey, boo boo.
Hey, boo boo.
The Cushing syndrome.
That's what. Yeah, that's Cushing syndrome is when you have too high cortisol.
I see. Cushing syndrome when the body has too much of the hormone cortisol for a long time. This can result from the body making too much cortisol, or from taking medicines called glucocorticoids, which affect the body the same way as cortisol. Okay, so if you're taking certain drugs, I've heard this as well about things like blood pressure medicine, and if you drink grapefruit on top of that, might interfere or be too much. Things like that. Natural ways to affect these things can be way too much on top of the other. So I could see that. And I think,
opposite then. Okay. Not enough cortisol.
And our like Kat was saying, all of our stuff is out of whack, and especially with a lot of us having hormones and medications and things all messed up. I don't think many of our instincts, as you could call them nowadays, are functioning properly in a lot of cases, right? Unless you're somebody out there hunting, and you actually get a little feel for the, I had a cat, actually. My cat was I always described him as very primal, like very, not feral, but he was always stalking around. He wasn't like your lap cat. He was always looking around, like he had some wild in him, and you can tell the difference between that and like a fluffy old cat that you kids
Was
can
he orange?
by the tail and pull around. No, he was black.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Orange cats are assholes.
You got booted. Oh, Kat, you're welcome back, of course. Hi, Lane.
Hi, Pete.
What's up, Pete?
Michelle asked Rhino, do you help in all? Wait.
I was a mental health professional and a co-occurring disorder professional and a certified recovery support specialist. I don't have them certified. I am still a mental health professional, but I could help you get linked to somewhere in your area. Or if you just need someone to talk to, I'm there too. I don't give like counseling anymore because I'm not licensed.
Well, you can point people in the right direction, though.
But yeah, I can help you. If I can help you put you in the right direction. I'm a great ear. I can give you a little bit of tips and stuff, or tell you what I did in a certain similar situation.
Hi, Becca.
So feel free, Michelle, to reach out anytime.
We do have a Kat up here if anyone wants to come up. Kat, if you want to come back up, you're welcome. Just say so.
That's one thing maybe we should do a disclaimer on, as well as that, we're just chatting as friends here. We're not giving any type of, advice.
No mental health advice.
I apparently need to add that to my podcast too.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's why it's about us sharing our experiences. Although we get off a topic, we get onto our opinions. Sometimes we get into hypotheticals, but it always comes back to sharing our own lived experience, which can't be argued with, man. Like you feel something totally different while you're going through an experience than you do 10 years later when you can talk about it on the screen, right?
Yeah. I shared it to Misfit Island, and I put it, and the description underneath was sharing experiences. That's how I titled it.
Awesome.
Sure.
I do appreciate that share. I appreciate anyone sharing and tagging, and definitely hit all those reacts, guys. We can't do as much. I can't share like I used to be able to share. When I first went live, I could share to literally 200 groups if I wanted to, nonstop.
Yeah.
For
It
months.
wouldn't let me share today at all.
It was like that for months, and now I am scared to death to share more than just to my profile. And that's not right. That's why I'm really glad about the Rumble turnout, guys. Thank you very much, Run Rumble, because that is the future.
Give us a rumble if you're out there.
We're on two YouTube channels, and there's not even one person there. We're on one. My one Rumble channel has more people than are watching us on Facebook. So anyway, it's just funny the way it works. Go ahead, Rhino.
I just got ungrounded yesterday. I can like and share, but I'm very careful about it, and I don't do it real fast. I'll hit it. I'll wait a second. I'll hit it, and I'll wait a second. I'll do it like 3 times and stop.
There's so many.
Earlier,
Go ahead.
Earlier, Leaf Cycle had said they got not banned, but they got hit for just hitting. For just hitting like.
Liking the post, yeah. Or the
just
video.
liking the post, like it wasn't like just liking the post. But yeah.
Yeah, there's no certain way to do that. So when you're on probation, you just can't do anything. See, that doesn't. that's ridiculous.
Do you guys agree that the flea or the freeze is from stress hormones?
Okay.
Say that again.
Do you guys
Keisha's
agree?
leaving. Bye, Keisha. Oh wait. Wait, are you not?
Are you leaving? You're muted.
She's
Keisha.
muted.
I can't
She's
hear
not
you.
muted, but I can't hear her.
We can't hear you, but you're not muted. Hello? Nope.
Oh. Okay. Well, love you, please. She was waving, and I didn't know who she was
Understanding
waving
the freeze stress response releases stress hormones to drive out the fight or the flight behavior.
What does?
The freeze, when you freeze in certain situations, it releases a stress hormone, and it causes that stress hormone to overtake your fight or flight.
I have a traumatic one. Trigger warning, you all that need those. Not a situation I was in, but what about like rape? You get a lot of times that freeze mechanism is where that like the fighting back is what we want to hear. That's what we want to see. The movies, that's what we want to, but for the most part, the freeze, I think, is what they say is what happens, and that sucks because you can't, you want the situation to be like, I wanted to claw his eyes out or whatever it is, but unfortunately it doesn't happen as often as we hope. But
I have an example of that too.
Go ahead, Rosta. I'm trying to think of a good story, not necessarily rape, but some other story in my past that we can actually.
Freezing, right? I mean, because we hear about things, like a wall collapse and somebody just stops, or the deer in the headlights when a car is coming at you and you just freeze. You can't react.
Well, I opened my front door of my trailer, and as soon as I opened it, wham! He punched me right in the nose. I stepped back and I looked at him, and he says, "I'm gonna kill you." I looked at him. I kind of freaked out, and I took off. I'm not going to give you the whole story behind that, but it was a big misunderstanding. But I knew this guy was ready to kill me, so I took off. But I froze there for a second, but I was still able to fly.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I had a similar situation, but I whooped the guy's ass.
That doesn't
this happened a couple months ago. Actually, I was on live when it happened. The live feed.
I was there for that. Yep.
Yeah, we were at the Waffle House, and we just had to sit there for. He goes, "I'll be right back," and then we're sitting there. It had been like 45 minutes, and he comes back, a welt on his eye, and he's like, "Yeah, so I just got in a fight." And we're like, "What?"
So you got punched in the nose, and then you had to beat someone up?
My neighbor had come over and asked me to let her into her apartment because she had gotten locked out. So I went to help her get into her apartment because I knew how to get in. And as soon as I opened the door, a fist come out the door and got me, and I went into fight mode.
Laid the
It
hammer
was
down.
her boyfriend that she supposedly didn't know was out of jail, but I think she knew he was in there and he locked her out. That's what I think. And I think she set Jason up to go in there. But
Either way, I'd rather him punch me than a female. And, he went back to jail and, whatever. But it's.
Now, see, as a man, for years and years, I felt shame over running about that.
Yeah.
Just because that's the way I was brought up not to do.
Well, you also second guess yourself. You thought, well, I would, you wish you would have tried that. I've had the same situation.
shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yeah.
Right. Well, you walk away where you think I turn the other cheek, but at the same time, you really think, man, I wish I would have. Even with my own father, there were times where my father would do things. He would smack me in the face. He would, berate me verbally, all those things. And there was one instance I'll never forget that I wish I could replay. And if you guys know the movie The Butterfly Effect, that movie stuck with me for like 3 weeks because I kept thinking of ways I would do what I would do and like what I would do differently. This the whole thing, right? And I always for a long time thought I could go back to when I was 10 years old and have the same memory I have right now. Redo things, but then all actuality, you'd get bored as hell waiting until you're 20, and then you'd also would do things differently. Like Jason, to your point earlier, you're not the same person anymore, but you do some. So my point is, I always thought of this one instance where I was at the stove, boiling some water to make ramen noodles. I think I was like 12, and he was yelling at me about something, and he thought he saw me. He says, I saw you. I saw that. I saw you flinch. He's like, you're going to take a swing at me. And I was like, what? And to this day, I always wish I could go back. And I honestly don't wish this. But I always had the thought of like, what if I just took that whole pan of boiling water,
Like, no, this is what I was thinking, though.
Right? But no. I honestly, Rhino, to your point, I've had a lot more of those instances where I don't know if I would say I froze, but I didn't. I was afraid of the damage I would do if I decided to go for it. So many times, like there was a time when I was leaving a girl's house. She was a single girl. I was a single boy. We worked together at the time. We were getting to know each other. It was all fun and games. So I was leaving her house, driving away, and this kid rides up on his bicycle in front of my car. And, I was like 20 years old, and he sticks his head into my car, my driver's side window. Now, at this time, he's not touching me, and I'm not touching him still. So there's this little part of me that's like, wait. There's nothing, nothing happening yet. But to this day, I kind of regret, like, not just like grabbing him in a headlock and then going in reverse or something, something that would have been terrible to do. And so maybe it was better to make the decision I did, but part of me thinks, man, I should have, bopped him right in the face. The guy sticks his head in my car, you know what I mean? So there's that instinct to go either way. And I think I froze because instead of me leaving, because I couldn't leave, his head was like, if I was to pull away, he may have gotten caught anyway. And, I wasn't trying to hurt the guy because he was also pretty vulnerable, just only having his head. It's like,
you're going to decapitate him if he took off. Yeah, that's pretty stupid.
Even just punching him with my hand, like, you're pretty vulnerable, guy. But, he was real mad. It was his ex-girlfriend, and I guess, really upset or whatever. Anyway, long story short, I didn't hurt the guy, but I started to drive over his bike, and you're gonna drive over my bike, and I think I still ended up starting to drive. Anyway, nothing really happened with it. So I have plenty of close calls. I have some real altercations, but there were some close calls like that. There's another time, which you guys, this is not really directly on me, but I was at a bar. Obviously, awesome things happen at bars, guys, and I was with a friend. Oh, this is a classic story. An old friend of mine. I loved her. She thought I was her gay friend. You know, the whole classic story, right? The classic story. And so I was, Mr. I'd do anything because I thought I could win her over one day, right? Well, she was drunk. She had only one liver, or she only had one kidney, I think. Whatever the thing is.
I hope she only had one liver, by the way.
Whichever the one thing. Anyway, she went 0 to belligerent in like 2 beers, right? So, but she would do this all the time, and she was chasing her boyfriend around town. We ended up in this hole in the wall bar that I didn't want to be in. So I go to the bar at the bar itself. They're arguing, drunk, and I'm getting like a can of whatever beer on the can, and I'm like, I turn around and there's a literal brawl. The entire bar, there's like probably 15 people in a pile up, just going to town over at the pool table, and I'm just like, I turn like, I'm just
Hi, Johnny.
taking it all in, just taking it in. I'm like, I'm not getting in on this, right? And so this is the funny thing. All of a sudden, the door, the guy just kicks open the door. 20 cops swarm in the place, guns ablazing. And because someone had called the police and said there was a gun involved. When you say that, the police come quickly. There was no gun, but someone wanted them there quickly because it was getting out of hand. And so they said this, and the whole time I'm just observing from over at the bar as my friend and her boyfriend are like in the middle of this whole thing. It was pretty fun, amazing night actually. Because then they're dragging this guy out who I was not particularly friends with. Several police were holding us. He's like going like this, and he's wasted. And he was looking at me and he was going, "Waylon, help me, Waylon."
Yeah, let me get cops for you, right?
Like, you got it, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, we got it. I'll never forget that night because I was in the car. I was pretty, I don't know if I wasn't really traumatized, but I was thrown off a bit as well because I told the cop that my birthday was in like 1883. So, but he didn't even notice. I was like, oh.
Right, Crystal?
What do you think about military PTSD? That could cause a lot of freeze situations.
But I do have the unique. I guess Dan and I both have a angle on that. But yeah, I was desensitized to it. Oh, you too, Rasta. Okay. I forgot. What were you in the Navy, Rasta?
No, I was just a counselor, mental health counselor.
Okay.
Addictions counselor, and then both of them put together
I saw a lot of it then, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, it was all lived experience. What I got, everything I got certified in, it was all lived experience.
Well, I can tell you my experience, right? Yeah. So you heard a lot of lived.
Gotta go, y'all. Have a great night.
Bye.
Love everybody.
Frankie,
thanks for joining us.
Frankie,
Jimmy, you're so funny.
I know you see one hand come up.
Just a shadow of it. I love it.
Yes, Crystal. I try to act things out for sure. But yeah, I mean, I can speak to mine. I felt sort of desensitized and institutionalized when I got done. So you might see the whole like the trope of guys like hitting the ground when they hear loud noise and stuff. That's not me. It's sort of the opposite. I'll be like, oh.
Like, do you like it? Does it like settle you?
No, it's like nothing happened almost. Like, oh.
Gotcha.
Like insane situations I'm usually very calm. I'm less calm when it's like when it's how do I put it? More nuanced to the situation. If it's a crisis, it's in a sort of a calm washes over me. Maybe that's training or whatever, but it's kind of desensitization as well, because a lot of what we did when I was overseas was driving through danger zones, which meant explosions and things, and basically the entire thing was what you were on that heightened awareness, basically waiting for the shoe to drop. It's different when you're on foot and you're going to, like, say, attack an enemy or whatever, defend a place. But when you're out there just driving, waiting for the shoe to drop, waiting for something any second,
The calm before the storm.
right. And I actually, one of the biggest situations that happened was is someone cooking with pots and pans, or what's going on
That's
there?
me. I'm sorry. I'll mute it.
Oh, okay, no problem. But the biggest thing was a mortar attack that hit a few feet away from my truck, and it was like a very big loud noise, big white explosion, but it didn't hit us, but it was boom, it was like right there, you can see it still today. So there was a lot of situations that you couldn't make a choice. It's like you had to just keep driving. There was you couldn't act out your instincts in that situation.
And Kat brought something up earlier. She told me whenever I talked about a situation I had went through, she said, "Well, I was trained," and that's true. And you and even Frank, that we were trained in those situations that we went through certain times. Like I worked on a crisis detox unit for a few years, and my boss said the same thing. You work great in chaos, but when we're not in chaos, she's like, it's like you're lost. You don't know what you're doing, And I was like, yeah, it must be the ADHD. I don't know, but but that part of that training, teaches us, I think, to go towards that, drive to go towards that. Well, whether it be fight, I guess.
Or a chaotic field. I mean, whether that's firefighting or even working in like a restaurant, Jason. Restaurants are freaking chaotic because they're insanity. You're getting hate thrown at you. You're getting decisions on a moment's notice. Like, I've been watching this series Bear, and man, is it intense. Like,
well, look at what some of your waitresses have to go through.
Yeah.
They have to choose to either argue. They have to choose to try to de-escalate the situation. They have to flee, just do nothing at all about it, and they get abused left and right. And half the time, it's over the cook fucking up.
Right.
It's not what they did wrong, or it's over the cook taking X amount of time to make their food. It's not what they did wrong, and they get that verbal abuse left and right. So that's a huge thing for them to have to decide what to do in that situation.
People are quick to shoot the messenger.
Oh, exactly.
I was working at a tire and oil change shop, the Sears Automotive shop. And if you want to talk about a place where when people come there, they are not having a good day for the most part. And Steve-O can attest to that with the auto shop. Like, people are just, they're most of the time going to expect you to lie to them. They're going to expect you to be trying to take their money, whatever. Like, so it was rough, man, especially if you were just trying to help people out. Like, I took the approach of, I'll be just as honest as possible, tell them that they really need this thing, but they can get away without it for now if they have to. Other people, like we talked about this before on the show, but other people will be like, you're going to die if you don't get this fixed or whatever it is. And it's like, sometimes if that's the case, that's a rarity, but there are cases where if that's the case, we won't let you drive it away. Like we used to have, if it's in the shop, if it's unsafe to drive, we're not allowed to let it go anywhere. But yeah, those were a lot of situations where a guy would call me a liar to my face, and I'd be getting heated, and it's like it makes you want to fight because you feel like this person's threatening you, but really, it was never going to touch me. It was just like all verbal, all perceived threat, and that's where I think a lot of domestic violence happens. You start to perceive your significant other as a threat because you become in competition in a lot of ways. Between certain things, whether that's time, whether that's finances, like who gets to spend the extra, like the teeny bit of extra finances on their habits, and then maybe the other person doesn't get theirs or whatever it is. You start to become competitive. And in nature, competition is fight or flight. That's competition. You have herds, or you have certain animals that are territorial, and they have certain territories, and then like, don't walk into that territory, otherwise you're getting it. And it's funny that we get worried about boundaries and no person owns the land, but animals can be like that. They're like, this is my territory, it's my land. You're gonna get eaten if you come on it. So it's interesting. Sometimes what we find in nature isn't so different than us.
Mm-hmm.
It has been an awesome show, you guys. We got 16 people still on the Facebook, 15 over on my Rumble still. Very awesome, guys. I hope you had an awesome Independence Day week. Still getting annoyed by people calling it the 4th. I still see it everywhere, all the way up to my podcasters that I watch with the, million. It's like, please, come on. Is it that much harder to say independence? I don't think so. I really don't. Does it seem? Do I seem like a prick for splitting hairs on that, Melanie? Like, does it seem like?
No, I think some people don't want to say Independence Day. I don't think they believe that.
It gives it more significance, definitely.
Yeah, tell them to move to Russ, and then they'll say it.
I didn't realize it until you brought it up and said it, and then I thought about it, and I've mentioned it several times to people, and it's really changed the way they thought about it and stuff again. So
same here. Like I said, I've always said "Happy Birthday, America" or USA when and put a post up.
Yeah.
But I still use the phrase "Happy Birthday" a lot. So I was the same way. I was like, I didn't think of it that way, and it was so.
It just bugs me. I don't know why. It's not like I'm not ultra patriotic. I'm patriotic. Can you please cough or please mute if you're going to cough?
It's me.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, Dan. You mute too when you cough. I forgot what I don't know. It's all right. Next. I forgot what I was saying.
Diane said down there, Diane's comment, she says lots of people don't think we have independence anymore.
Oh, that's what we were talking about. Yeah. Well, no, right. Maybe not, but that's one reason why it's important to use our words in the way that we mean. Like we cannot control whether other people lie. We can't control whether other people manipulate or can misconstrue words, misconstrue definitions. But what we can do is try to double down on our own sense of what's true and what definitions mean and what words mean. And if we try to keep the holiday the way it is instead of bastardizing it, that's one little teeny tiny step in the right direction in my book. That's all.
Well, that's where it comes in with tonight is you fight for what you believe in instead of fleeing or fawning for, you literally, you have to fight for it. You can't flee from it. You can't freeze about it. You have to fight from it.
Yeah. That's what brought me to the earlier talking about state to state. It's like, do you fight for your beliefs or do you flee or do you get confused and stay where you're at? And I think a lot of people just don't have the finances to leave or they but also the grass is greener on the other side is all that comes up in my head there, because it's like you think it might be better in some other state, but it may not always be better. You never know. Go ahead, Rhino.
Talking about that, it's I've told you guys that we thought about thinking about homesteading over in Missouri and stuff like that, moving off grid, and it's a scary thought. We ran a lot of it through our minds and stuff, and just making sure we're making plans and looking, and there's a lot to it. So there is, even though it is grass and grass is probably greener on the other side, it still has some difficulties and some reasons to, I guess, freeze.
The grass is greener on the other side of fear. That's how it is.
Where the grass is greener is where you water it. That's where it's greener.
I mean, on the other side of fear, though, the grass is always greener. So when you go through fear, you realize that when you went through that fear, that the other side of it, there's a lot. So,
and I try to replace fear with faith.
Being scared to go to another state is pretty normal, but once you go there, you realize that fear was, that you're going to learn from it and have a good experience.
And that's what courage is, is having fear and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we are stopped because secretly there's no reason to move. Like I thought about moving to Tennessee for a long time, but really, honestly,
there isn't a strong enough reason for me to
Well,
go
the
there.
problem is we think that it's going to be a failure, and we need to eliminate failure from the vocabulary and turn it into a lesson. There is no failure. It's a lesson.
There's a
It's
silver
plain and
lining.
simple.
Always. Yeah.
It might be a good lesson. It might be a bad lesson, but it is a lesson. And it doesn't matter that it didn't work. You didn't fail at something. You learned a lesson. You learned a way that, nope, you know. So I think we should try to eliminate the word failure. And that would do a lot for people.
Well, that takes away some of the fear, to Dan's point.
It definitely takes away some of the fear.
Lightening the fear, because fear is good in certain aspects, but fear also can be harnessed in a way like, okay, I know this is going to be a scary thing, but I know, like Dan says, if you know you're going to be stronger on the other end of it, then you look at fear like a good thing. Okay, I could get through this fear, and it's like, oh, that's my little XP pellet, and I leveled up, whatever it is.
I was teaching those mushroom classes last year, and I'm scared of social speaking, but by the fourth class that I taught, I feel like I had overcome that fear by just actually doing it and going and speaking in public, and then realizing that there was nothing to actually worry about.
I get debilitating anxiety over things I haven't done yet. I don't get anxiety.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I don't get anxiety over like whether someone might hurt me. It's more about
what if
whether I'm gonna fuck something up. Oh,
like that.
Like that would have just been an accident. But my point is, like, I've been leaving my pH meter alone for weeks because I thought that I was going to do something wrong, and so my anxiety kind of like made me freeze on that, and I just left it alone. And then the more I just procrastinate on it because I feel like there's something I'm missing or something I forgot that I was supposed to do about it, whatever it is. Like, that's just my most recent example, but like it's hard to explain because it's almost an unexplainable anxiety where it's like I'm assuming there's something I'm missing, therefore I don't attempt the thing. And if it's something that I've done a few times, I don't have that anymore. I start to lose that. Maybe that's everybody.
I've experienced that with mushroom farming, but then because it was such a complex thing to do that I just held it off because I was scared to fail. But I think that's more or less you're being a perfectionist as well.
Yeah, I don't know about being a perfectionist. He's used to a routine. I think he's used to a routine is what it is. Yeah. We get comfortable. We get used to that routine, and we're introduced to something new, and it's like, oh, no.
Yeah, it's
uncomfortable. No.
Right.
No.
Do we fear the unknown? Is that part of that, you think?
And a lot of it comes with trauma too. We have to remember trauma because so many people have been through so many different types of trauma, and it sticks with us.
New experiences bring new traumas. That's what some people, and that's what me. Fuck trying to be semantic. Like that's for me. Yeah, like fucking someone else feels it, I'm sure. But yeah, new experiences will bring new fears and new traumas, and so I would just rather not.
Yeah,
sometimes
that's why some people are like, oh, I don't want to go out in public. I'd rather not. It's too much work. All the people.
And that's where I'm a different person. I'm gonna jump in with both feet. Let's go.
Yeah. It
doesn't matter. There's certain things that I'm in it.
I am in it, and I am in it now.
It's
never talked about people who are first on an accident.
First responders, oh my God, my heart just crumbled.
I was the first one once on a fatal boat accident. And it was like 30 seconds after his boat got hit. I was on the boat, and they never found the guy that night. It was like 10:30 at night, and fight or flight definitely kicked in because I jumped in the middle of the Mississippi River at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
I had a life jacket on, and that's why fight or flight can make you go from sober, because I was drunk that night. Boat got hit, and all of a sudden I was sober, and I started thinking a little more straighter. And that fight or flight comes into play and sends all the right hormones and chemicals in your brain. And I think when like somebody's the first on an accident, even if they're not like the first responder, I think that even on like the side of a road when the car flips over.
Or a
Stuff like
helicopter is laying on a baby, and the mother can just like pick up the helicopter and shit. And or like picking up cars. There was a car that was on a kid the one time.
I think that's like just divine strength. Like
It's adrenaline. It's
you
adrenaline.
connect to the earth. You
It's
connect to the earth. You connect to something, and it just fucking. It's unbelievable.
It's like something snaps in you to where you're able to bypass the thoughts of, oh, this hurts, or oh, this is difficult, or oh, I can't do this. All those thoughts go out the window. I've heard once that if the human muscles would all contract in the same way, that we'd be able to lift like 20 tons or something great, like all of our muscles being.
Well, look what a gorilla can lift. It's 10 times the amount that we can.
Oh, we're gonna get an angry face here shortly.
Hey, John Doe.
We found you out already, John.
Dude.
Yeah, we know what you're doing, Johnny.
We know what you're angry facing us about because we don't.
Steve was saying that about his leg earlier. He's saying that ever since he broke his foot, that's all he thinks about now is his anxiety about his foot and all that. It comes.
Well, and that's the thing, though.
If
you have anxiety about something all the time, when you have a separate thing that's supposed to trigger an instinct or a reaction, it may not trigger it because you're already in this heightened sort of sense of upsetness or unease, and that can make you not able to. And that's where nutrition comes in, and enough sleep comes in. Because we end up finding out that our immune systems take a hit, and so do our mental systems, our instincts, and our all these mechanisms.
Well, and a lot of times too, with a lot of negative life situations, it continues on with you. So if you've had a negative situation with whatever, you don't want to go into that again. So you're like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm fleeing.
Say.
Yeah,
Hi,
that's
Denise.
We can sometimes, especially online, it's very easy for us just to walk away and make a new name, a different person, or not. We can sort of make a new persona, and instead of just being out there. So that's why, so for some reason, I'm okay now. I'm okay using my name, even though at times I'm like, man, maybe I should have come up with some, whatever, alter name. But eventually, I think I'll be fine with it when I can pay for all the lawyers on retainer and the private investigators and all that stuff. Okay. But protections and whatnot.
Well, you've had it different than other people too with your stalkers and everything else.
She messaged me recently and friend requested me.
What one?
Junebug.
Oh, wow.
Did you
He said hi. This was a literal local stalker.
Did you know that there's actually a word for that strength that you get when you have fight or flight? It's called hysterical strength.
Wow.
And if you go to the Wikipedia's page, it actually gives you tons of examples of people who had hysterical strength over the history. And
That's interesting. That'll be a fun rabbit hole to jump down.
1962, they said that some lady lifted a car off of a baby, and that's what inspired the Hulk. Well,
wow.
62. Okay.
That's interesting.
But they couldn't make it a woman then.
Yeah, it was a man. But
yeah, it still couldn't tell the truth.
We saw this lady that was super strong. Okay, I got a story. We could make this deal.
I didn't know
no baby involved, and it gets green. What's going on here?
Well, if you remember the original series, which I don't think maybe and Jimmy, okay,
I do. I watched it.
Oh, did you? Well, on it was the first or the second episode. Bruce Banner actually used the research from a woman. They had a scene where she lifted the car off of a kid, and that was part of his research to try to figure out how to lock in his gamma ray technology. That was on the show, actually.
Damn.
Wow.
What other instances were there? I want to hear more.
That's interesting. No, it actually states why. It says that that actually happens because the central nervous system dynamically and subconsciously control the number of active motor units in the muscle, And normally, in order to guarantee homeostasis, these motor or neurons are not activated unless there's an emergency situation.
You mean homeostasis, right? Not homostasis.
Our full strength isn't activated until we're actually in an emergency mode. Otherwise, our body kind of holds us down.
So do you think it activates more parts of your brain too?
But it says
because we only use so much of our brain, so
I think it shuts off parts. Like
it says, it's a motor neuron capacity, so it's your neurons that kind of.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe it just opens up more, more openings. And they say that with psilocybin, how it opens up more pathways. And I wonder if people I wonder how people's instincts and flight or flight mechanism works before and after psilocybin.
Well, that's where the LSD comes in. Look at the super strength that you get from LSD.
Yeah,
it's opening more parts of your brain.
PCP,
now, mind you, we're just not from experience, but it opens more parts of your brain, and it's one of them things. So, LSD can really, if taken properly, I truly believe in it, just like psilocybin. Everything started as a medical purpose. We are, as a human race, turned it into a drug. We are the ones that turned it into a drug by abusing it.
But
there has their medical purposes to it.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you guys something. If you think if they told us Neuralink was going to be in most of the population in the next 15 years, would you believe me?
Yes.
Yeah, they just have
because 10 years ago, I have done neurological feedback where I've had the electrodes and everything else hooked to my brain. My ex-stepson, we did it for him. It's amazing. And this was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So I can only dream and imagine on how far it's come since then.
Well, the reason I bring it up, go ahead, Dan. You're going to talk about.
I said Dr. Phil literally had an episode on it 2 days ago.
Well, the way it's going to start is prisoners. A whole hour, but okay. So prisoner, Dan, if I tell you, you either spend 5 years in prison or get this quick little operation, you'll be fine. You'll be on community service, probationary period. No worries, no big deal. You know how many prisoners are going to voluntarily take that, and that's going to be that. And I've heard this recently. I think it was on Timcast talking about. That's a very good point. It's like that's how it's going to happen. A lot of people are going to take it. They're going to take it for different reasons, like make this easier, make that easier. Instead, they'll take it as ultimatums. A workplace, you'll have a company where it's like, well, you can't work here unless you have the software that connects to the Neuralink. So you have to have Neuralink to work here. Oh, well, I want this job, and they're going to ease it in different ways. But my point in bringing it up is that they will be able to manipulate things like keeping people more docile, keeping you from wanting to fight. So they'll be able to go, okay, well, yeah, you might be a prisoner, you might be a pedophile, you might be a murderer, but they can just shut off, they can just affect that part of your brain with the Neuralink. And maybe not just yet, but that's coming, And I think a lot of people will voluntarily take it.
I didn't see the voluntarily taking it until you just said it with prisoners, because I didn't think it would be come across so easily.
Right.
But right there, because now, correct me if I'm wrong, during COVID, certain prisons forced their prisoners to get the COVID shot.
I don't remember
certain
that.
Jails,
sounds right.
Certain jails forced people to get the COVID shot. We all know Jobs did. So
there was one jail that had a major outbreak, and a lot of people died, though.
Right. So with that, it would be that much. And come again, are you going to fight? Are you going to flee to some place where it doesn't happen, another country or whatever, off the grid? Or are you just going to sit by and be like, oh, there's nothing I can do?
There'll be people that choose not to, but that's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
I'll see what I can do to help.
Good night, Michelle. Thank you.
What if we could?
Good night.
What if we could have the procedure to help shut off the part of the brain that forms addiction?
There's definitely good reasons for it. I actually am very intrigued by it, but there's going to be manipulation.
Magic mushrooms work just as well.
Yeah, Dan.
Maybe.
We'll find that out
Well,
soon.
we've gone. Look at how far away we've leaned from old remedies, anyways, plants and all of that. Waylon, you know, you're trying to bring it back with the growing the plants, medicinal purposes of all this, the benefits of the leafy greens, and everything else that you're doing. Look at how far we take a pill now. We don't got to eat that shit. You know.
Yeah, some of that I'm actually
So-
okay with. Have you seen some of the places where they have like powder that's all the leafy
Mhm.
greens, and then it's not actually it's actual greens put into powder form. I forget what the one was, but it was like 12 of your different like superfood greens all put into this powder that you could then put into a drink or whatever. Some of that's kind of cool, but then you got to know the whole process to know whether you
Exactly.
yeah, and so you got to be worried about that. That's why the most
Right.
natural way to go back to is fully growing it yourself, right? But you can have a definite worry in the grocery store these days with what you're buying, and we don't know which way to go. It's like fight, flight, or freeze. Well, where can I fly to? I can't, I can't freeze. You got to eat. You got to keep buying that food that we think is killing us. You don't always have the option or the money or the finances to go and buy the fresh market or the I don't know if you guys have the fresh market, the Whole Foods or whatever the store is.
Whole Foods we have here.
So that's where you got to fight and make your own, build your, plant your own, grow your own, and all of that, self-sustainable.
That is a good segue, Jason, because I want to. It's a little bit of a side to today, but I think it kind of connects because I did launch my company, and what I want to do is I want to take whole trays of microgreens to food banks on their busy days and stuff like that. Like it's not stuff that can keep, so I have to be careful on when I can do. But I want to do something along that effect where I get like say every so much of a donation through my online dealings here, through shows and prescriptions, through all the stuff I'm doing online. If I can set up some sort of a thing where it's like this so much donation, then every so many dollars I can donate a whole tray of microgreens to said like whatever it is, Salvation Army or whoever good cause.
The local churches that do the meals every day, that would be amazing.
Yeah, or like if there's a soup kitchen of some kind. I know there's a couple of places in Peoria, but something like that I could work out a deal. But that's my plan, is to like make it. Yes, would I be doing the Mr. Beast thing, trying to get clicks and likes out of it? Well, fuck yeah! If I can make a way to help feed people the most nutritious food, which is growing your own vegetables, microgreens is definitely very high in the nutrition rate. But it's something that they don't get. You're not going to get at the food kitchens and the what do you call them? The pantries, the food pantries, and stuff like that. That doesn't go into those places. So I think it'd be a cool thing to do. Because a lot of people, they do get scared to find food. They get scared to go to those food pantries. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, the food isn't all that good for you. It's just food, like crackers, and
it's better than nothing.
Right. It's better than nothing food is what it is. So if I could turn that around and make a cool business out of like making awesome online content for you guys, having awesome discussions with these folks on the screen, all of these things, if I could turn it into something to where we could then drive those profits into feeding people with good food, not just feeding people. Let's pack them full of soy and corn,
like sustenance, not just food. Like, because there's the meal, and then there's actually having sustenance in your body, like proper. Yep.
We'll see how it goes. I want to see what I can do on that.
You're doing awesome, Waylon. Congratulations on launching your business, brother.
Yeah.
So congratulations. That's a huge step, man.
There's a lot of fear when it comes to that too, but
it is. That's fight, flight, or flee. For freeze.
Right. Well, flight or flee.
How long did you freeze on that? How long did you wait and wait and wait and wait? Like, I don't know.
Probably a year or two. I was talking about it, just kind of like expecting some situation to become better or
And
easier.
then finally, you just said, "Fuck it, I'm doing it."
Right. And like we talked about yesterday, Steve-O and I on We Grow Wednesdays, and I was talking about how a lot of things sort of started to fall in place. And what did you call that, Steve-O? Somebody called it something where you're kind of not manifest destiny, but there was another term that someone brought up where you're sort of your mental state is sort of drawing the things that you need.
Vibrations.
Was that you, Dan? Somebody brought it up.
It was me who said it.
It's familiar.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, once you get over the fear and you start to move towards this direction, then you start only noticing things that have to do with that, right? And so I started noticing I'm surrounding myself with other growers and other people in that community, and it just started happening more and more. You ever buy a car, and it's like before you bought that car, you're like, I've never seen anyone with this car. And then once you have the car,
every time
you see that car everywhere.
You're like, how did everybody buy the same car I did on the same day?
When you're looking for a red car, you'll always see a red car.
Right. And so some of that is like just happens to be what's in your path. But at the same time, I think to Dan's point, when you get out of the fear mindset, the freeze mindset, and you start to make moves, you might decide what battles are worth having. That's where you can use that mechanism to your advantage. Or someone said earlier, instead of reacting, you are Rhino? Responding, right? You're responding by using those mechanisms on purpose. Like, okay, I need to flee from this situation, and that's a healthy thing. It might be healthy. But this other situation, I need to stay and fight, and so you can use that to your advantage too. Just like you can use fear and anger to your advantage if in certain situations, whether that's at the gym pumping some iron or what. But anyway, let's see. Gonna have another smoke here. I think we've had a really
I hit all my topics.
Yeah, very good conversation, guys. I appreciate
It is a good one. I want to say real quick, guys. Next week, episode 52.
Yeah, 1 year.
Episode 52, 1 year.
And it's been more than a year, but it's 50.
We missed a couple episodes.
Well, I think it was a holiday at some point, and
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome next week. All right, Jimmy. Have a good one.
Jimmy,
I do want to say the 42710 family will have a couple items next week to give away to viewers that are here for our 1 year anniversary.
Okay.
Yep. We are going to have a couple items to give away for that.
You made a boot chip.
What do we got going on game night on Sunday, Waylon?
We're going to try checkers this week.
Yep.
Checkers. I have some thoughts and ideas on it. I think I have a way to make it faster. Instead of trying to clear the board, you just try to get your checkers to the other end and see who can get as many to the other end as possible. So you don't go to the other end and get kinged and then can move back, and there's no kinging. Once you get to the other end, you're safe and you get off the board.
No kinging.
Does that make sense? It's a thought.
I think it's interesting. Have you tried to play it that way yet?
No, I'd love to play it if anybody wants to stay after the show, or we want to play now. Hell, I'm not in really a big hurry.
Well, let's do an after party.
Yeah, let's do an after party for sure. In fact, I can even launch my profile. We can do it that way because it's not on here right now. But yeah, it's been awesome, guys. If you
I do want to say thank you to everybody that shared their experiences. Truly, it took everything I had, choking back tears. I mean, I am heart touched on the stories, the experiences that I heard tonight in the comments. Everybody that was in the comments, the reactions, the actions, the interactions that everybody had together. Truly, truly heartfelt episode tonight. It was amazing, amazing episode.
I'm surprised how much fear came up, and it's funny because the mechanism has to do with you being threatened. So fear is an obvious one, and I actually had fear written down as a topic, but I don't think we really need to go. I don't think you could do just fear, but I think maybe we could do a recap episode next
Sounds
week.
great. Sounds awesome.
And just
Yeah,
have
for
some
sure.
fun. Yeah, just have some fun. Yeah, guys, could check us out. Game night. Actually, Steve-O's got his sesh, his 710 daily sesh tomorrow.
Nice. Nice.
6 p.m.
And then you'll probably be seeing us do with some like debauchery going on Saturday.
That's right.
At the event in Dixon. That'll be fun.
Hell yeah.
Rhino, bro, maybe we can still figure something out, man. Where there's a will, there's a way. There's still time. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, let me just put this out there into the comments. If anybody's near Taylorville area and they're going to Dixon, if I can catch you right, I'll help in on gas money, and I got some good weed.
There you go. That's
ding,
enough.
ding, 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 ding. His phone. Is
All they heard was I got good weed. Nobody heard the rest of your fucking statement. They'd be like, "You got weed?"
How far did you say you were from me?
Oh, you're only 2 hours and 15 minutes away from me.
I'll be down in Illinois next weekend, or I'd come this weekend. Sorry.
I don't want to hear about that.
I'll be in California, so
I could stop there on Monday. I could swing through on Monday, Waylon. So,
Don't come back to Illinois.
yeah, we'll talk about it.
If you can help from it, yeah. Go while you can.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody, for thank you, Grow Fam. We are live on Grow Fam, so definitely thank them every time because of their graciousness. And thanks for all of our sponsors. Steve-O and I have a handful now, and I don't think we need any more for the moment. We're actually going to be bringing on a paid sponsor soon, so you guys might be seeing some light commercials just to forewarn you. But it's all good stuff within the medicinal realm, so it's all part of our shtick, right? But you guys have a great night. Thank you, everybody.
love your faces.
Cheers, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Have a great one, everybody.
Bye.
Do I have the outro? I do. Steve-O, send us home, my friend.
Smoke weed every day.
Certified.
Good night, everybody.